I was definitely not muted. What's going on, horror fans and movie fans alike? We are back. We are here talking about the movie franchise known as Saw. We're going to talk about this movie franchise every single week leading up to the Saw X or Saw 10 if you're not into Roman numerals. And here, as my guest referee, is the shape from the Lone Star State, Tex. What is going on, good sir? I should probably stop the music now.
What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are doing well. Welcome to Monday Night Saw is finally here. It feels like we've been waiting forever for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I do got to give you kudos for the extra time and effort put in for the cosplay this week. So, you even went suited. So you're doing something right.
I definitely didn't do this in an hour.
So you don't just walk around dressed like that all the time with the little red bow tie and everything? I mean, it's not a normal everyday attire or whatever.
No. Wow, I wish I really hadn't met. I was hearing myself in my own ear. I'm sorry, I didn't have the thing muted, and I can't mute it until it's actually going, so I'll work on that. Contrary to popular belief, I don't actually walk around like this.
There you go. One day I hope I get to see your cosplay closet. That's one thing I'm genuinely interested to see, the collection of nonsense you created over the years. In my head, it's like it's a whole apartment full of costumes that you just got everything in it. That's kind of how I see it. But it is what it is. But
I managed to do this every single week, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you've obviously got enough material for many. But yeah, I mean, as we roll in here, this is Monday Night Saw. This is Sawtember. I mean, this is for horror fans, especially like us. This is the spooky time of the year, and Saw in the modern era of horror since 2000 on. Saw is one of these golden franchises. Horror in the 90s was besides Scream and Urban Legend and a few other things, it really kind of sucked.
Maybe
so. Yeah,
maybe,
but
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Maybe, but I was a kid of the 90s, so maybe that's just me.
Those were so good. I loved Goosebumps, both reading the books and the TV show. The Haunted Mask is still one of my most treasured childhood TV shows. I love those episodes of Goosebumps. But nevertheless,
the Crypt Keeper scared the shit out of all of us, made.
The 2000s rolled in, and we got a new era of horror. I've said this on here on the channel a good number of times, and I truly feel it. I 100% believe the 2000s era of horror is up there with the 80s. And I know that is, you're not going to find many people that say that or even believe that. And most people would call me crazy or for even thinking that way. But there are so many gems of the early 2000s. It's the remake era, so all of the classics came back around, and you had some new stuff. And maybe the king of the new stuff is the Saw films. I mean, the first one that we're going to talk about here first, it came out in October of 2004. This was a short film made by James Wan and Lee Winnell. And obviously the name James Wan really carries weight these days because, Aquaman, Fast and the Furious, the Conjuring movies. There's so many movies that he's touched. There's been rumor that him and Jason Blum are putting together some kind of horror studio. They're trying to kind of combine forces. Even though I'm not a Jason Blum guy for what he did to Michael Myers, but whatever. We already talked about that. And back in 2004, James Wan and Lee Winnell, they're just Australian film students, and they made a short film called Saw. It was 10 minutes long or whatever. They couldn't get it anywhere. It was overseas. It took years, and then finally, once they got it to America, Greg Hoffman, which God rest his soul, he's now passed away. Orrin Coles and Mark Berg. They're movie producers in Hollywood. They saw this. They saw the short film, and they wanted to make a big movie out of it. So they put a little money into it. They literally created Twisted Pictures, the logo that comes on at the beginning of this movie. That would maybe the most cool opening title segment ever, with the barbed wire wrapping around and then it spins and pulls it away. And literally created a studio to get this out and get it produced by or distributed by Lionsgate. But Saw 1, the little movie that could, this movie was not expected to do anything. This film was made for $1.2 million and made $103 million. I mean, literally, this movie, nobody expected anything. It has some star attached to it. You got Carrie Elwes, Danny Glover. You got some big name actors here, but no, everybody just thought this was just another schlocky film that was going to come and go. And 10 movies later, we're still here, buddy. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, this is a milestone in horror. It's like what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. This movie's so important, it literally started its own subgenre of torture porn, even though torture porn didn't really start till later Saw movies. This is the catalyst of a new genre within the filmmaking. And I can't praise this movie enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is in that, I guess if we could consider maybe a third wave of horror. I mean, if you talk about like the early stuff, like ever since cinema started, you got like the 20s, 30s, maybe into the 40s. Then you got maybe like fourth wave. You kind of got like monster movies and stuff in the 50s, 60s, yeah. 70s. You start getting into slashers, and 80s for sure. You get into slashers. 90s, I don't know. Like I said, there's maybe Scream, and it was just kind of dying out. And then this movie and franchise and Texas Chainsaw, the remake in 2003, I mean, it literally got in everyone's face, and it was like, holy shit. No one had ever seen something like that. And that's always the thing about horror, is pushing that boundary just a little bit more. I mean, you could look at The Exorcist now and think, oh, well, that's kind of cute. I mean, it's scary in its own ways, but it's not, getting your body stuck in a thing of barbed wire, getting your arms twisted the wrong way. You know what I mean? So these movies came out, then all of a sudden you see someone get their leg hacked off by some shit, and you're like, oh, we're doing that now. Okay. Well, it's about time we went there. So yeah, like you said, this whole series definitely pushed the envelope.
Well, that's the thing, is horror had never had a bad guy like Jigsaw. We had 1,000 different slashers, whether it was chainsaws or knives or weed eaters and Jason Voorhees, whatever it may have been. We never had a killer cult leader that technically he is a killer, even though he's not. It just depends on
we'll
how
get
you
into
want
that.
Right. That's a conversation.
Technically, he never killed anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, slashing Danny Glover's throat. What do you think was going to happen there, Jigsaw? Come on, I have to call bull crap on a couple things, but we'll deal with it in a minute. But no, this was in a time in horror that, I mean, it was so good. I mean, these came out year after year for 6 years. I mean, the whole tagline of "If it's Halloween, it must be Saw." I'll never forget that in my life. That was in the commercials, everything, the marketing. And I'm just so happy that we're going to get to break these things down. If you want to give these five folks,
I'll say let's start with the first one. Hell yeah,
yeah.
So the first Saw movie came out in 2004. Like he said, stars Carrie Elwes, Danny Glover, being your two big stars, and I believe Adam was played by the person who wrote the film.
Lee Winnell, yes.
I knew his name is Lee, yeah. And essentially the movie is two men wake up at opposite sides of a dirty, disgusting bathroom, chained to their ankles to pipes on the wall. Between them lies a dead man, loosely clutching a handheld tape player in one hand and a handgun in the other. Each of them finds a tape player in their back pocket, a tape for the player in their back pocket. They play the tapes. One is threatened, the other is not. They have a task. One must kill the other by 6 o'clock. Or Carrie Elwes, who plays Dr. Gordon, his wife and daughter will die. So, high-strung situation. They find hacksaws in a toilet and try to cut the chains at first because that's what you probably should try and do. But of course, to no avail. They're the newest victims of somebody called the Jigsaw Killer. And eventually we see other victims, one by the name of Amanda Young, who falls victim to the Jigsaw Killer. And on her head, probably one of the most iconic traps of all time, the reverse bear trap, hooked into her lower jaw with a timer on it. And the key is in the stomach of her dead cellmate, who is conveniently snoozing right next to her. And if she doesn't unlock the mask in time, her lower jaw will be, of course, ripped wide open because it's a bear trap, but in reverse. She, of course, survives, but her cellmate does not because you have to cut his stomach open to grab the key. And as with this series, through many flashbacks, many callbacks, and this person was there the whole time. I'm going to say that a lot, probably.
Dun, dun.
we see and learn of more victims and some escapes by the Jigsaw Killer, who may or may not be multiple people. The plot thickens.
Ooh.
And technically, I mean, we can, if I could figure out how to do a poll really fast, I mean, is Jigsaw actually a murderer?
I would say no. Now, all cards on the table here. If Jigsaw was real, I would probably be one of his disciples. I love this character. I'm like, just let me be on your team. Like, I'm totally down for the cause.
I want to play the game.
Oh yes, I would love to play the game. I'm down.
Okay.
I don't think Jigsaw's a killer.
Please get that up. I don't know how to YouTube. Help me.
We're gonna need Frank's assistance.
So I know he needs to hold my hand still.
Yeah, we're obviously flying not solo, but the two of us without our fearless leader Frank here. You know, trying something new on the channel for the Halloween season to keep y'all more content. So there might be some growing pains, but bear with us and we'll do our best to entertain you. You know,
I'm a hunt actor. I know how to roll with the punches, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just swinging at the air. Also, you know what? I gotta show this picture. If anyone is not aware by now, obviously this is who I'm trying to portray. I mean, even if you don't know anything about this movie, you've probably seen this little guy named Billy the Puppet.
That is the most famous puppet ever, Mr. Billy himself, Billy the Puppet. Trick or Treat Studios has a replica of that on sale for $250 that I would love to have in my house, but you know, that's a $250 toy. I'm not sure I can justify that, so it is what it is. But the whole question of is Jigsaw a killer?
Mm.
It's like I said a minute ago. Obviously, at one point in this film, we see him literally with a machete coming out of his sleeve under his robe, and he's slicing Danny Glover's throat. Now,
yeah. Speaking of poor Danny Glover, and you know what, and his partner Detective Singh, which
Detective Singh. Well, that's Danny Glover's a huge star. I mean, from the '80s through the '90s. You know, from Predator to everything.
Lethal Weapon.
And
even
Lethal Weapons, yeah. For them to get Danny Glover was huge for this movie. You know, now obviously they didn't have him long. That's why if you'll notice, he doesn't really have a lot of time with, there's not many characters in this movie. It's a very contained story. But they only had him for like a week or something, I believe. I mean, he was not there long for shooting. But his scenes are so, because do you know what a Giallo horror film is?
I think I've heard that term. I would have to.
Basically, what a Giallo horror film is. It's like something. It's basically an Italian horror film, and
Okay.
this Saw One is in the Giallo style of horror. You've got the mystery, the drama, the suspense, just the way the whole story is built, and they the twists and the turns that keep just coming left and right. You think, oh, Dr. Gordon, is he the bad guy? Well, no, he's sleep. He may or may not be
Maybe.
hooking up with his medical student in some seedy hotel. Which, if you're that rich, can't you afford a better hotel room than going to that crack den? But whatever. I'm not
I
going there.
mean,
But
when you wake up and this is where you're at, I mean, you might want to start thinking about your life
yeah.
choices. Honestly,
Well,
this is what they wake up to. I mean, Adam wakes up, like I said, chained to the pole on the wall in the tub of all damn things, and
right.
sloshes on out. The lights come on, and you see the obvious dead body in the middle of the floor, and Dr. Lawrence Gordon over here in the
Well,
opposite corner, not knowing how the hell he got there, or I mean, maybe they do know each other, and we start to figure that out real quick.
what are your thoughts on Adam's key to his restraints being so readily available if he wasn't an idiot kicking it down the drain? What are your
I mean,
thoughts on
but if I woke up and all of a sudden I realized like, oh, I was drowning. I mean, I don't know. The something I know we're going to talk about is that some of these traps are obviously just kind of not fair and unwinnable. And if you
that? Right.
start to pick up on it, like maybe that's not Jigsaw, because the more you see him, the more this is that weird gray area where like, did he kill anybody? Is he trying to teach people a lesson? Because the point is that you learn something because of it, and you're
Right.
supposed to come out a stronger person. Whether that means having to cut your leg off or cut whatever appendage off or do, I mean, these are going to get wild. This is a pretty, I mean, I hate to
Oh
use the
yeah.
term cut and dry, but this is a pretty straightforward movie. But I
Well.
mean, as it stands on its own, it's effective as hell. I
Oh
don't know.
well. See, that's the whole
I would have
thing.
lost the key. I would have lost the key too. Is all I'm saying.
Well, think about it this way, because like I said, I've rewatched Saw One twice in the last 2 days just to get in the right mindset to review these things. Obviously, the scene that really stood out to me because I kind of keyed in on it when he's trying to get the tape player out of the dead man's hand in the middle of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
He can't reach it, right? So he has to take the shirt off. Then he takes the plunge, not the plunger,
Oh, the
but the little
stopper.
stopper from out of the tub, and he kind of throws it over to get it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think because obviously I have the foresight of seeing the other films and the flashbacks. I think Adam was meant to not be chained up the whole time to kind of help facilitate the rest of these traps. Because to me, it just makes the most sense. Dr. Gordon, he's got the bullet over there. He has the gun on his side of the room that he can actually reach. Adam can't reach that. We know Jigsaw, John Kramer, proper, the first Jigsaw, he's fair. To kind of touch on what you were just saying, as the traps go, the more unrealistic and unwinnable. I mean, by the time we get to Saw 3, you're basically screwed. There's no way you're winning. At least in the beginning of these, you have a chance. It's going to suck like crawling through razor wire, but which my God, that is a visual right there. When you've got a room full of the biggest razor wire I've ever seen, and you have to literally cut yourself to stay alive. And I mean, this guy cut himself so deep, stomach acid was found on the scene. I mean, that's some gnarly stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's
I don't have a picture of it, but I mean, what he's talking about, it's one of the
I don't
first
think we
things
could
you
show
see
that on here. I'm not sure we can show that stuff.
I've tried. I know some of these are going to get. I'll try to use my judgment, but some of these are kind of wild.
Right.
I mean, I can describe it to you and let your imagination run with it. I mean, someone's
that's
basically hung. He's hung up in barbed wire because he had to push himself through it, and obviously he didn't make it.
Yeah. Well, this is the reason why we've been plugging this series for the last 3 weeks on the channel, so you could watch these ahead of time and be prepared to, while we're discussing this, you would know where we're coming from. But basically, the the Jigsaw. Jig, I think we probably need to cover. Obviously, spoilers. This is a 2004 movie. You've seen it already. Jigsaw's the dead guy in the middle of the floor. Let's just go ahead and rip the band-aid off because that makes everything.
Wait. Let me get the shocked face out. Say what?
Yeah. No way.
I'm not gonna lie. That right there, I'm pretty sure is what everyone's face. That was the same look on my face when I watched this.
Dude, whenever I can still remember.
Yeah.
You saw this in 2007. Was that your first time seeing it?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Like, for me, what I did was I didn't see these until about 2007. So what had happened was who I was with at the time, we were like, oh, let's have, hey, and we're in the middle of Saw here right now, right? So it was maybe 2006 or 2007. I was early high school. I was either freshman or sophomore year.
By 2007, it would have been Saw 4 would have been coming out.
I was gonna say, I think because I remember him dying, and then sorry, spoilers. He dies, and then we get to the autopsy whole deal. But we bought all the or rented all the movies because that was the thing, kids. You could go out to a place and rent movies physically. And we sat down and we're like, let's, because we're a bunch of dumb teenagers. We're like, let's watch all these scary movies right back in the row, And it's like I hadn't really been into stuff like this at that time. I hadn't seen a whole lot of it, to be fair. Like maybe something like Cujo I'd seen. I mean, I'd seen like the Universal monsters. I don't know if I count Jurassic Park, but it's like, there's dinosaurs, rawr. I've seen stuff, but I hadn't seen anything like this. And I'm like, this is different. And I had never seen somebody try to cut their own leg off or have a key stitched behind their eye socket, shit like that. So that's what I did. I watched them all right in a row. And then I think I tried to watch 5. And then I don't really remember 6. And this is why I agreed to do this, because I said, you know what? I'll humor Tex and I'll watch the rest of them. And I'll try to actually make sense of this. And I actually make more sense to me now than it did then. So,
of course, yeah.
I'm into it now. I got it.
Obviously, the pun here is, watching these films is like a jigsaw puzzle because jigsaw and stuff. But it's these films. These films made Tobin Bell a legend. Jigsaw is a horror legend. The minute he stands up at the end of this movie and says the key to those chains is in the bathtub, and he walks over and slams that door, I can remember sitting in the theater and my jaw was on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, that dude is alive. And we didn't know anything about it.
No, you want to talk about a reveal? I mean, holy shit. When this dude, like I said, you go from, well, we kind of skipped a little bit. I mean, if this doesn't suggest what Dr. Gordon's about to do, I had to get all new pictures. It was a whole ordeal today. Look, Tex had a really good shot of Dr. Gordon trying to cut into his leg. But I mean,
it was so cool, dude, but the internet sucks. So
but this, you get the idea. His whole thing is he has to cut his leg to escape by 6. And the thing with these movies is, it's you can ride this movie for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on some of them. But when it starts getting down to the wire, like literally the clock is counting down, it's gonna start going off, and it's gonna start going off fast. Like you're at 5:59. They got to do this by 6 o'clock, and he's still halfway through his, his leg bone. Finally gets himself free. I think he manages it. He grabs the gun, and I didn't get that shot, but Adam gets shot.
Where he shoots him in the shoulder.
Yeah, he tries to kill Adam because that was his objective. Dr. Gordon was told to kill Adam because Adam had been stalking him. He was a photographer. He was the one who was following Dr. Gordon around with his alleged affair. So it's a whole mess. And it's a whole mess in this bathroom. And Dr. Gordon tells him he's going to go get help. Like, hey, you stay here. I'm going to crawl my way out of this dingy bathroom. And then Adam finally gets the rest of the tape, and he's right about there shitting bricks because this dude right here just stood up that you thought was dead the whole time and tells him, "Hey, your key's in the bathtub," and it's like, oh shit, because honestly, this shot was what I remember the most. It's kind of dark, but Adam's screaming at the top of his lungs. And like you said, this beautiful shot right here, where he slams that fucking door shut and says game over. And then, yeah, the code goes right to the credits. I mean, holy
I had
God.
goosebumps.
Right.
As soon as Jigsaw says game over and slams that door, and you hear Adam scream, and his scream continues to roll into the credits, it's like, oh my God. Like what did we just see? Like, I remember when we went and saw this, I mean, we went, I don't know if we went opening weekend. It was like a couple of days after, I'm not sure. But we went and saw it again like a couple hours later that same day. Just because there's these Saw films, especially the later you get into them, they're layered upon layers upon layers.
Yeah.
I mean, there are YouTubers.
This one stands on its own, but however, this cake is getting taller and taller.
Well, they had no plans to build a franchise out of this when they made this movie. Like I said, when Twisted Pictures was developed for these Saw movies, they didn't say, "Oh, well, let's turn this thing into Friday the 13th." They just wanted to pump out a horror film to make money off of because they only put $1.2 million into it. So, I mean, they got a little 100%, money back. I mean, it's crazy what they got.
Yeah, you love to see it. You have something that's so low budget and still manage. I mean, $1 million. I wish I had $1 million to make a movie, honestly. But
you do something
you do something that's like this. It's pretty straightforward. Even you said it was a 10-minute film. Like, you could make a really effective, like, short horror film, or even just a short little film in general, with just a few minutes and some simple, depending on how crazy you want to go. Yeah,
basically,
you never know.
The original short film, what Lee and James had made, was Amanda's Scene. But I believe Lee Winnell was in place of the Amanda character, which becomes key, especially in these next couple movies. But it was just like a short, like 10-minute. It may have even been black and white. I can't remember. It was kind of like a college film, basically, kind of thing. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it.
If it had, like, you say black and white, if it had the grittiness of, like, Human Centipede 2, the reason why that movie is so much scarier, not because it's like, oh, it's not 3 people anymore, it's like 10, but I'm like, no, there's something about the fact that's like, it's a modern movie, but it's in black and white. It just makes it makes your skin crawl even worse. It's so fucked up. I mean, like, if this movie had been in black and white too, I mean, yeah, it could still hit you. I'm serious. That movie is so unsettling.
We got Alex.
What?
We got Alex in the comment section. He says, first Saw movie is a modern classic. Great makeup, Jeremy. Tex should direct a scene remake of the guy in the barbed wire room using Casey. Can we do that? Can we get the money? Can we?
Oh, did I just lose him? Hold on.
Are we back?
Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pressing buttons. I'm sorry. There you go. I was just.
Oh, I didn't know what.
I was trying to do that. My bad.
Yeah. No. If we could possibly get a GoFundMe together to do a recreation, I'm willing to butcher Casey for the sake of art. I'm willing to do that. I'm not above it. So, it is what it is. But I mean, this film is. I mean, I'm very. I would say Saw is my favorite overall horror franchise. I know you, well, like you said, you stopped at 5 and kind of faded away and whatever.
Until recently, yes. Yeah.
Until recently, Saw is one of those, Saw is a measuring stick kind of movie. There are horror fans that hate the torture porn genre. And to be fair, Saw 1 is not torture porn. That did not come till later on. What Saw 1 is, it's a mystery thriller with the horror elements, and minor touches of gore, like whenever Amanda has to cut her friend open to get the key out from his stomach or whatever. You see the entrails, but you don't see the cutting like you do in Saw 3 whenever someone gets their freaking lungs ripped out. You know, complete different kind of movie. And we're going to get there tonight as well, folks. But
and to be fair, you don't actually. Well, you see a little bit of Dr. Gordon cutting his leg off, but it's a lot of like it's up in his face. He's got a shirt wrapped around in his mouth, gritting his teeth. You know, you get the effect. You know what's going on. You know what I mean? It's
that shot of Dr. Gordon cutting his foot, because you see he basically breaks through the skin, and then it cuts like Jeremy just said. The camera's pointing up at him, so we're getting this very off look, and he's frantic. He just heard gunfire going off in his home where his wife and daughter are, and he just wants to go be his dad. He wants to be a husband. Obviously, he's in an estranged marriage. If you've got Monica Potter as your wife at home, what are you doing sleeping with the medical student? Dude, come on, man. I mean, I don't understand that.
However, I know we're going to talk about Jill Tuck, and I'm like, she has no business.
Oh, geez.
But we'll get.
Oh my God!
Hey, man.
I got to stay focused. Either way.
I mean, if you want to I'll give you something to focus on. What I mean, this is a pretty, like I said, it's a pretty simplistic plot, I guess, in a way. There's some. This guy's got to do this because of this. This guy's got this. He knows him. This person knows him. You don't know that guy's dead. He's been there the whole time. However, is there any particular moment in this movie, or maybe a trap? Because there's not too many in this first movie. Is there anything that sticks out to you the most in this one?
I don't want to be cliche and just say the reverse bear trap, because that's the easy answer. I think my favorite moment in all of it is whenever Detective Singh and Tap realize where Jigsaw's lair is, and they go to try to catch it. And after they've shot the drill bits off of the machine that's going to go into the guy's head, Singh takes off after Jigsaw. And whenever Singh trips that fishing line that he has on the floor, and that line of shotguns that's pointed directly down at him, it basically just takes the top of his head clean off.
Yeah,
I can remember that.
He's no longer. So
he got it rough, dude. I mean, there's like 5 shotguns all tied to the ceiling, pointed down at him, and they just take him out like he's yesterday's garbage. And you just see him laying in the floor, and you can see like the brain pan, and his skull's leaking out everywhere. I love that shot, and it's what's so good about this movie is, and especially in that scene, is like if they had shot that scene 3 movies from now, you would have seen him get shot. But this movie,
they don't show that either.
Back.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But you hear the shots go off, and then you see the aftermath.
Yeah, you see him hit his knees. You see a bunch of crap fall down, probably his brain matter and skull and shit. But you see him hit his knees, and that's kind of it.
Either that, or the moment when Dr. Gordon is cutting his foot off, like I talked about a minute ago. The blood splatter that's coming up on the white shirt. You can see he's biting on that shirt, and he's frantically screaming and doing his thing. Those moments, I could pick out 15 moments that I love in this movie. But those 2 really, for me, are like, I would love to have a poster of Dr. Gordon cutting his own foot off, as odd as that sounds, because that's just one of those moments in horror for me. It will always stand out. It's just, Carrie Elwes, Princess Diaries and everything else, such a good actor. I think he was a Doctor Who or something at some point. I'm not a Doctor Who guy. I don't really know. But
I don't
I'm
have
not
the
sure,
picture.
but I know he's.
I don't have the picture of Zepp either. I'm trying to find it. I don't know where it went, but that's also a.
Well, see, that's the thing with Zepp. Zepp is
the person
that
he was there.
Zepp is the person who he's the orderly at the hospital. He takes the trash out. He brings them food. He does whatever. You think he's a minor player until you see he's the one pulling a gun on, you know, Dr. Gordon's family. You know, and, I mean, we just think he's the bad guy. We think he's Jigsaw until the end of the movie, and then we're like, oh crap, how did I not see this coming? Because once again, Jigsaw's rules hadn't been established yet. This is a whole new universe. You know, they're literally making these rules up as we go. And, you know, Zepp, he was, I wrote his name down because I recognized him. Michael Emerson. He did he did a cop show. I think it was on CBS a few years ago that was actually pretty good. This movie's got a lot of good actors in it. I mean, you've got Monica Potter, Carrie Ellis, Lee Winnell, which Lee Winnell is not a good actor, and even he will tell you he's not a good actor. He's done it so many times in interviews. Danny Glover, Ken Lung. Ken Lung played Detective Singh in this film. I think the only other movie I've ever seen him in was in X-Men 3: The Last Stand. He played the guy that could put spikes out of his body. I don't know if you remember that movie or not. Shawnee Smith. You know, yeah, Shawnee Smith plays Amanda. You know, Shawnee Smith is one of my favorite women in horror because she's just so good in this series. And then, of course, Tobin Bell. God bless Tobin Bell. I'm so happy that they got him in another Saw movie before he's, you know, not capable. But there's just, you know, obviously, I mean, we could spend 2 hours breaking down each of these movies, but we're trying to condense before Saw X. So there's obviously
we're doing good. I mean, we're doing pretty good. Yeah. I mean, just about ready for 2 even because one's pretty. Like I said, one's pretty easy to explain. It's going to get worse. The rabbit hole is going to get worse.
Saw 1 is Saw 1. It's a very simple film, but it's very complex at the same time. You think Danny Glover's the bad guy. You think Zepp is the bad guy. You think even Adam is pretty shady at the beginning of the movie. Oh, no, yeah, Randy would have a field day with this movie. I mean, you know, you don't know what's the one thing that I will give Lee Winnell and James credit for is the most important thing a film can do is give you characters that you A, care about, and B, remember. This movie is chock full of them. Obviously, when you get into the later sequels, half the cast is just there to be dead people, pretty much. They're just here to die. But in this movie, Saw 1 is different from everything else in the franchise. Saw 1 happens, and then 2 hits, and that's when the bloodbath really starts. And
there's going to be blood.
Jigsaw says it too. There will be blood, and he smiles. It's just Jigsaw. He's so important to horror. Jigsaw.
Would you ever expect an aging, like stage 4 cancer patient to be somebody who's putting people through really, really tough life lessons by making them mutilate themselves? Right. I mean, no, that's insane.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is we've never seen a Jigsaw. The only other person I can remember who was an elderly person who was the villain of the movie was Betty White in Lake Placid, who was raising the alligators to eat people. Other than that, it's never the old person. You know what I mean? It's never them. And I mean, Tobin Bell, that voice, and it's just so much. There's just Jigsaw. For me, he is a Mount Rushmore horror character. He has earned his spot. I mean, he is well on that mountain, and I adore this movie. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah! Well, so far on the poll, we've got 5 votes. Who's the real killer? We have Jigsaw, the Trapped People, or I Like Pie, because apparently we're giving pie to Casey today. So, okay, well, we're tied for Jigsaw and the Trapped People. Yeah, I know. Hey, you might want to look through that pie first. There might be some razor wires in that thing. It's not apple pie.
Well, you know, see, that's the thing. I mean, we've got a few minutes here before we move on to Saw 2.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you're trapped in a room. Okay, well, you're trapped in a room with a complete stranger. You're both shackled at the ankles. Are you going to fight your natural instincts? Like, look at that shot. That bathroom.
Yeah.
I would love to go to that bathroom. My God, that is gorgeous. that is, it's gorgeous in the most disgustingly way possible. Knowing 2 feet from Adam's left there is a crap-filled toilet. It's just it is what it is. But
should have checked the tank
mean,
first, but whatever. Follow your heart.
I never understood that. Why wouldn't you follow the path of least resistance?
You would think you're in this shitty situation. I mean, literally this shitty situation. You'd think, oh, it's probably in this shit-filled toilet. Of course it is. But then he gets kind of trolled, and it's in the back tank of the toilet, which wasn't even bad. It's like, oh, well, I should have done that first. I'm like, yeah, maybe you should have. Can't wash your hands. The sink's way over there, buddy. So
the one negative thing I will say about this movie that I do not find believable is the whole that Jigsaw can electrocute them through their shackles. We see no wiring on those chains. We see no wiring hooked up to anything. We see some ship chain with a padlock on it. And obviously, I know suspend disbelief,
it's
yada yada, whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just that was always the one thing to me. Like, if I were to make this movie, that's the one thing that I would not do is get rid of that, because to me it just looks. To me, it's cheesy. And to me, it kind of.
Well, it's always that's the thing though.
Brings it down slightly.
He's got fail safes out the ass. Because, one thing that they do try to do is Dr. Gordon finds a couple rolled up cigarettes, a lighter, and no, he finds the bullet in there too, I think. And he said, like, one of his tape or something says to give Adam the cigarettes because one of them's laced with poison or something like that. So they kind of I think Dr. Gordon can reach the light. He switches it off and they try to whisper because Zepp is watching them through the camera, right? And he tells him, like, here, take the cigarette. Try to act like you're dying. And Adam, ever the fucking Oscar winner, just over the top, tries to act like he's choking. He falls down. And it's like, you really think that was going to work, you dipshit? And then he, you see Zepp flip a switch and he gets, like, electrocuted back to, not back to life, but back to reality.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you can't. That's the thing, is that's what's going to start messing with you. Is like, Jigsaw's got this all figured out. Every angle, every, I can't. This is going to be insane because I'm going to start saying there is a room there. There's a false wall that leads to somewhere the fuck else. I don't know.
Even the part with the cigarette always kind of like, okay, let's say they weren't working together, right? And Gordon wanted to poison Adam. Obviously, he knew the cigarettes were there. So if we're ever hanging out and you say, hey, Tex, you want to smoke, and you hand me a cigarette and it's wet on the end, I'm not putting that in my mouth. I'm going to have to let that dry before I do anything at best. But it's just, like I said, minor issue plot. I wouldn't even call it a plot hole, just minor issue, I think is the more correct way of looking at it. But even with those two things, this movie's a horror classic. I mean, this is, I could argue this is a top 10 horror film ever, just for the significance of it and what it brought to. I mean, it revived and, like I said, created its own genre for what it became. Not many films can say that, Yeah, I mean, like you said, Exorcist, Chainsaw, that
Halloween.
For me, Halloween, Saw is up there with those films. I mean, kind of where does it stand for you?
It's, like I said, it's definitely very important in that era of the 2000s horror, because and that's what I'm saying. That's you could talk to like Frank, and he grew up with the 80s stuff, and I'm like, I'm jealous. I mean, that's kind of awesome. You grew up in like the height of like slashers, like Michael Myers, even Texas Chainsaw, The Exorcist, Black Christmas, even like right before that, Freddy, Michael, Jason. I think I already said all that. I'm jealous. I'm like, that's kind of awesome. I'm like, but I'm not really mad that like I grew up in this era with, you know, the remake of Texas Chainsaw, Scream. No, sorry, Scream. Yeah, kind of Scream. Saw the remakes of Halloween.
Scream kicked a lot of that off.
Yeah. The remake of Halloween, Friday the 13th. We don't talk about Nightmare on Elm Street as much as I love the guy who played, Rorschach.
Hero Haley.
Yeah. Not a good Freddy Krueger. I can't.
Yeah, that was he.
But I
looked
did
like
get
a
Freddy
CGI
versus.
Burn wrong. I'm good.
I did get Freddy versus Jason though in that lifetime still of growing up with this stuff. So I'm like, that's cool. That's still.
I tell you what, Freddy versus Jason. I used to just clown all over that movie, but
it's goofy.
The older I get, that's what it's. Freddy versus Jason is on my list of good bad movies. It's kind of where it stands with me. But yeah, I mean, if I kind of had to grade this movie, I got to give it an A. I mean, this is one of the best in horror. I mean, this movie made $100 million on a $1 million budget.
And if you saw none of the rest of them, if you just saw this, I mean, it will leave a fucking impact on you. You're gonna still talk about it after you leave.
Oh yeah. The musical crescendo at the end of this movie. I was
gonna mention that music. You start hearing that
Yeah.
I compared it to like Halloween. You hear that like something's about to happen. It's about to go off. You start hearing the it's like it's gonna start going off and it's gonna go off fast. Like I said, that's when shit starts to get real, and then those big those chords come in and starts building, and then it's like, but just like that. Just I'm gonna find that picture again, like that. Then boom, he shuts that door in your face, and it's game over. That's it.
The lighting within these early Saw movies, the greens and the blues, the like smoke.
Actually, speaking of that, I was going to say, actually, with two, with that dingy orange and yellow shit, it just feels sickly.
Yeah.
It makes you feel sick.
Like, I love that green hue that these movies have. You feel dirty when you're watching, you're like, look, I need a bath. You can feel
maybe not a bath in that room, but yeah, a bath somewhere else.
I'm not going to that bathroom to use the facilities. But this is October of 2004. I will never forget because, like I said, it was the first time where I ever got to see the Saw franchise, and it forever. I can look right at this movie. This movie was a momentous time in my life because I've always been a horror guy. But the minute I found Saw, I was like, now I know what I like. And then right about that time, Rob Zombie started making his kind of horror. And I've always been a grindhouse, blood and guts, sleaze kind of movie fan. Saw was it was a version of that, but put it on the mass scale. And I cannot praise this franchise enough. I'm going to blow this franchise for the next 3 weeks while we're doing this, and I'm going to love every minute of it. Not apologize.
Well, speaking of blowing it up, what do you do when you make a sequel? You go bigger. You get more people. You get a bigger
more
place.
Bodies, buddy. Yeah.
So,
give me
the little thing for 2, and I'll plow my way through
Saw
this plot.
2. Saw 2 came out in October of 2005. And we do have a director change. We don't get James Wan back. He went on to do Dead Silence and some other projects. This time we get Darren Lynn Bousman. Darren Lynn Bousman, he would go on to direct this one, Saw 3 and 4. So, we're gonna try to condense a lot of names as we go here because there's a lot of repeating. But Darren Lynn Bousman, he comes on to direct this feature film, and they gave him more money. Instead of $1.2 million, they got $4 million for this movie. Now, they only made $147 million, which is nothing to sneeze at on a $4 million budget. But it only got about a $30 million or a $14 $1 million bump from the previous movie. But this is when, like I said, Saw 2 came out, or Saw came out. It really defined you as a movie fan, especially in the horror genre of, do you like the gross, gritty, and everything that Saw features? And for a second feature to make more than the original was good. It is what it is. But now with our main cast, we've got Jigsaw in a predominant role here, Tobin Bell. Amanda takes the forefront in this movie once again, Shawnee Smith. We got Detective Allison, and she was in the previous film for 2 seconds there at the barbed wire room chat.
Yeah.
She's played by Dana Meyer, and I know Jeremy's a big Starship Trooper fan, so he's all about this one. And
I would also do my part. I'm just saying.
We get Mark Wahlberg's baby brother, Donnie Wahlberg, playing Detective
baby.
Matthews. Donnie Wahlberg, I never really, I wasn't I can't remember what the name of the boy band that they were in.
Marky Mark and
New
the
Kids
Funky
on the
Bunch,
Block.
baby.
Whoever they were. But he was there. Maybe in a film full of cool people, you get Xavier. You got Frankie G in this movie. Frankie G is a boss. This dude, he ain't taking no crap from nobody. We've got maybe the most odd casting in Beverly Mitchell from Seventh Heaven fame, playing in a Saw film. I was like, wow, okay, well, she's really branching out.
To be fair, still talking about Seventh Heaven. I mean, we talked about the Texas Chainsaw remake. You got Jessica Biel in there too, so
yeah. I mean, they both really wanted to branch out on their skills, but
there were too many damn Jessicas in the early 2000s. You know what I'm talking about? That one.
Oh, Jessica! It's all Jessica and Brittany's now. It's all you ever seen.
It's Brittany, bitch.
Yeah, Saw 2, we've got complete different kind of film. Saw 1 was contained, minor, people. Saw 2, there's... Yeah, go ahead and read your deal.
No, so I can tell you about it right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like you said, we have a new Detective Eric Matthews, played by Donnie Wahlberg. Along with his fellow police officers and a SWAT team, they locate Jigsaw's lair and attempt to arrest him. But of course, this is Jigsaw we're talking about. They discover that his arrest is only part of his master plan. Detective Matthews soon learns that there are 8 people trapped in an old house somewhere and are playing one of Jigsaw's games. One of them, and this is the big thing, one of those 8 people is his own son, Daniel Matthews. So now, Detective Eric Matthews learns that if he wants to see his son again, he's now going to have to play one of Jigsaw's games. Isn't that just the cherry on top of the cake? Yeah. That sucks. I was gonna say, first of all, let's talk about this poor bastard right here. These movies open up. They always open up with somebody, sometimes seemingly at random, but sometimes you might want to pay attention. They could be somebody important you might see later. Because that's actually going to happen in this movie. Maybe not this guy, but someone's going to come back, and we already, mentioned who it was. However, this poor guy, I wish I could remember what each person's thing was, because they are all tied to, their trap makes sense to what lesson he's trying to teach them. And this poor guy has I think that's the Venus flytrap one. It's got a bunch of spikes, and it's kind of like a clamshell, just. So the key to his salvation is right before his eyes. It's that simple. It's right underneath his damn eye socket. There is a key underneath that bloody eye socket. And
suffice to say, this is where
he doesn't make it either.
Well, what's interesting about this is, prior to him, slicing into his own eyeball, we see a guy in a hooded robe, walks over to the camera, kind of adjusts it, then he hobbles back over to that man laying on a surgical table, committing this act. And, if we watched our last film, we know that there's a doctor that now's probably not walking so good. May or may not be this person. You'll have to keep watching Saw to figure out. And
come back
in reality, same bat time, same bat channel.
Right, exactly.
But, basically he's got 60 seconds or whatever to cut his eyeball out and get a key out. Which in reality, if I have to choose between cutting into my eyeball or crawling through razor wire, I'll take the eyeball. It's not going to be fun, but I can deal with that over slicing every inch of my body over and over.
If anybody's seen Would You Rather, it's like that.
Oh, yeah. Don't play Would You Rather with Jigsaw. You're going to lose. Like that.
Or the Reanimator. He'll still, he'll fuck you up.
Yeah. Don't play. Don't get Dr. Yeah, no, that's not going to be good. No. But no, that opening kill, that it's kind of like it's like a mix of like a Venus flytrap and kind of like that. What do they call that? The Iron Maiden or something like that.
Iron Maiden, baby.
That they would slam you in or whatever. It kind of seemed like one of those. But no, this movie, we see that kill, and then of course Detective Allison and Detective Matthews show up, and we see written in blood, look closer, Detective Matthews, because guess what? Donnie Wahlberg's the star of this picture, besides Tobin Bell, of course. And Donnie Wahlberg, he's the corrupt cop. He's not the greatest dad, not the greatest husband. He's more than willing to do some corrupt police stuff
he's a cookie cop, yeah,
to further his career, and he's got a track record of it. That's the whole point of Jigsaw's plan in this game. And we're quickly, one thing that I like about this movie is they don't waste any time getting right to the meat of the matter. They don't play around with it. Yeah. They say, "Oh, look closer, Detective Matthews. Oh, well, we've got information here. Here's where Jigsaw is," and they go find him immediately. But it's not that easy.
It's never that easy.
The SWAT team shows up, and they see the staircase. Number one, if I see a staircase enclosed in like metal, I'm gonna be like, "Okay, that's where you go to die. I'll find another way up. I'll do something else.
I'll see you guys up there."
SWAT guys start going up the stairs. The door slams. The step gives through, breaks their legs, and then they get electrocuted to death. Well, Billy the puppet's sitting there laughing at them. Now we know what kind of movie it is. This is where the torture porn starts. And, it's just so cool. I mean, of course, you've got Detective Briggs and Allison all outside doing their thing. But, once they get inside, this is where we see John Kramer himself. And the last time we saw this guy, he's crawling out of the bloody floor.
Right here.
Look at that. Like,
that's it. That's the shot right there. If anything else you've seen from this series, it's that shot right there.
That smile right there is, I'm having the time of my life, and there ain't nothing you can do to take this away from me.
That's what I'm saying. If you came in there and you know who you're after this guy who is, again, I don't know if we're muddying the waters, but kind of a serial killer. But he's giving you that look right there. I mean, if I'm Donnie Wahlberg or not, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't push this guy's buttons. You know what I mean?
Obviously, you and I have watched. Obviously, you and I have watched this, so we already know. I've always found Jigsaw as a failed messiah, kind of a Jim Jonesy type of a Charles Manson. Charles Manson didn't kill anybody either. He just inspired people to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's comparison. It's all in the. He's the. There's a reason why they call people the Jigsaw cult. You know what I mean? Because it's he gets his flawed followers and he rebuilds them through testing them, whatever. But obviously, the meat of this movie is Jigsaw has Detective Matthews' son, Danny, and basically all Jigsaw wants. Yeah, that kid right there. That kid couldn't look more late 90s, early 2000s grunge if he tried right there. Like,
hey. I still wear the long sleeve shirts under the band T-shirts and shit too. Don't you dare come at me, all right?
I could never do that. That was never like that. That always felt weird.
I'll still do the side part, the hair, and the skinny jeans. Screw you. It was a good time, all right?
But no, you know, Danny is on this.
Well, and they're obviously not on. Obviously, if you're Donnie Wahlberg's kid in a movie, you are obviously not on good terms. So their last crime was not exactly on good terms.
You know, he goes missing because he got caught shoplifting, and his old man had to come basically get him out of trouble. And you know, this is a separated home. It's kind of implied that Detective Matthews and Allison kind of had an affair or something that may have led to the family kind of falling apart or whatever. But
have you seen her?
So now his son's been missing. Jigsaw has him. And basically, all Detective Matthews has to do is not be a hothead and sit with him and talk.
Gotta listen. That's it.
But just imagine somebody has Rachel and they say, okay, Jeremy, you just sit here and talk to me for an hour and she's yours.
But see, that would still play with you. It's like there's still something else to this. And I mean, of course you want to save this person you care about, but that would still fuck with you. It's like, do you trust him or, you know, what do you do? Even when I think it's hilarious when he even says like, here, can you get me a glass of water? And I'm like,
oh my God,
I wish I had that shot that I wish I had that shot you gave me where he just looks like this, where he's like just done with his shit completely. I'm like, because it was the smile, and then there's that where Donnie Wahlberg just looks done listening to this guy. He's just like, come on.
Well, that's the whole thing is, you know, this movie is Saw 2 might be the most complex out of any of the Saw films because half of it is two guys sitting over a desk having a conversation. And then the other half of the film is all the blood, guts, and gore. And this might be the one movie that I've ever seen that I prefer the two guys sitting there having the conversation because it is so intense. I watched the making of this film, and the producers were calling Darren Lynn Bousman wanting more dailies of that conversation in the film and less of the gore because it was so good. Like that's how good these guys pulled this off. But all he's got to do is sit there and talk to him, and he'll find his son in a safe place. The wordplay here is, you know, once again, we're going to assume if you're watching this review, you've already seen these movies. Spoilers, they're all of it. But, you know, there's a freaking, 4 foot tall safe sitting in the same room with them, wordplay, whatever it is.
Well, but on the other side of that coin, like I said, not only is his son there, but also these other fine people.
Yeah.
They're trapped in some house somewhere. I mean, we upgraded from a bathroom to some rundown, definitely not low budget looking, haunted house startup. But I mean, hey, I'm a haunted actor.
Well, see, that's the thing that
it works.
They never clarify what city these take place in. You know, people have speculated, is it New York, Detroit? Now, obviously, when you get
Chicago
to the Chris Rock Spiral movie, they flat out say where it is. But it's got a very rundown kind of a ghetto vibe. So they don't really, they keep it generic enough. But
it could happen anywhere. That's the point.
We've got John and Detective Matthews having their conversation. While that's happening, there's a house full of people that are locked in there that have been poisoned, and basically they've got a certain amount of time to find the serum that will cure them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some games have got to be played to get that. This is where the fun happens in this movie. God, is it amazing.
Speaking of, because I'll go back to this, as he says, oh yes, there will be blood.
There will be blood. Oh my God, yeah. I mean, whenever you've got little Miss Seventh Heaven over there, just coughing up blood just randomly, just sitting there. It's like, wow, she's really poisoned.
And speaking of sitting on the ground, if anyone noticed down there, I mean, our big spoiler that we definitely really spoiled. Guess who's back for round two?
No.
We got Amanda Young back up in here. Mrs. Reverse Bear Trap herself.
A pregnant Shawnee Smith, behind the scenes. But yeah.
They didn't know she was pregnant. And what we're going to talk about here in a second, that's kind of a wild story for that kid, I'm sure.
Oh, my God. That even for somebody who, I can't wait to talk about that one scene, because even for as jaded as I am in horror, I still cringe when I watch that scene.
I think that's going to be my thing with this movie. Is I'm like, I think that's the moment for me. Is we're going to get to it.
Well, basically what the premise is: there's a house of about 7 people. They're locked in a room together. They're all connected, but they don't know how. And you've got Detective Matthews' son. You've got Amanda, and a bunch of stragglers that we don't know who they are, but they all have a connective thread that goes through all of them. And Amanda wakes up, and she's basically imploring them. This is a game. We must follow the rules. We must follow the rules. They've already been warned to not open the door of this room.
There's a reason you don't open the door. Tell us why. Well, you don't look down the damn keyhole of the door first like an idiot.
Well,
that makes me so fucking mad.
I love the shot. I think my favorite shot from this movie is that idiot's eyeball up against the door, and you can see the door is closed, and they do like a side cut where you can see the revolver pointed right at that. And he's looking right on the business end of it. It is just there's the Xavier right there.
I was getting to Xavier. Yeah,
Xavier's legit right there. But you've got old boy. He has to get out of there. He has to escape. He takes the key that they found. He puts the key in the door. They've already been warned to follow the rules. They were instructed to not go through that door. And he gets half of his head blown to hell for not following the rules here.
Yeah, I don't have a shot of it, but yeah, just imagine you're looking down the end of a barrel. It's gonna be a bad day for you.
Well, that's the whole deal with Jigsaw.
If now you're trying to be smart now, the first thing you would think is, oh, should I grab the gun? No, it's bolted in that door pretty damn well. So no, you're not taking the gun with you. I thought that too, and I think Xavier, somebody tried to like wiggle it out of the door, and it didn't. No, it's in there.
Well,
Jigsaw, there only would have been one shot too. He's not going to waste.
Anybody who's ever played Resident Evil or any other survival game knows you pick things up as you go. That's kind of how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a better shot. I think that's the moment after. Yeah.
That's the moment after Homeboy gets half of his head blown away. And Beverly Mitchell's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And Frankie G's like, oh crap. This is, crap just got real.
Frankie G can be a hard ass in this movie, but if you got him like that with blood on his face and he's, oh my God, oh shit. Yeah, it was intense.
He has so much range in this movie. And obviously he's not the standout. That goes to Tobin Bell Jigsaw. But Frankie G did not get enough credit. This movie should have propelled him to the next level. But he never really went anywhere. I was kind of surprised, especially in the horror world. I would have thought he would have got some roles out of this, but he never really blew up. You've got a myriad of people in this home. They've all been poisoned, and they're going to have to find the vaccines, find the cures, the antivenom, whatever MacGuffin you want to call it. And it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. And if you've ever worked in a haunted house or ever been to one, do you really fucking think that is actually the exit? I love Frankie G in this movie, but I'm like, dude, really? It's a big door that plastered the word exit across it. Do you really think that's the way out? Come on, bro. I know you're.
Well, see, that's the thing is you've got basically the people you have Frankie G here. You've got Beverly Mitchell. She's kind of like the goody two shoes kind of girl. I didn't write down all of these names. I'm
I don't
so
remember them
forgetting
either. To
one.
be fair, some of them go
Lyric
so damn
beat.
fast.
Well, there's once again, once you get into these later Saw sequels, they get real fast, at least with the cast. But the the woman that plays the prostitute, I found her to
Allison,
be
yeah.
very powerful.
No,
Allison, yeah, very.
Addison. See,
Was it
I'm fucking it up already.
Allison?
I don't
Yeah.
know why I remember.
Well,
I
she
had to name
plays
these
a
photos. So,
prostitute that was obviously arrested for prostitution, and you have all of these people in this house, so they start kind of introducing themselves to one another, and well, oh, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? And when it goes to Danny's turn, this is where Darren Lynn Bousman got real smart with the Danny character because he goes, oh well, my dad's and he pauses. And he luckily Danny knows how to read a room. He just goes, "Oh, my dad's a real hard ass. He's probably got a team of people out there looking for me right now."
yeah,
When
well,
once again, spoiler here, but the point of this movie is Detective Matthews was the corrupt cop that got everybody else in this house arrested, and Amanda was placed in this game to keep Danny safe as the bait. She's basically the gatekeeper for Danny in this film because you're in a house of criminals and a couple psychopaths, but they go from room to room. They find like you just showed the exit to the house says exit, and then they start beating on the door. And there's still bars behind it. You're not going
yeah,
to get out that way. Even if he got out, he's still poisoned. He's probably going to die. I never understood that part.
yeah. You're wasting your
But
energy, bro.
you've got they find a crematory room
Mm-hmm.
in the basement of the house. This is where it really starts to pick up.
It
And
starts to heat up a little
basically,
bit.
yeah,
I got jokes.
that was it. Opie, what was
Obi,
it?
Obi.
Obi. I was calling him Opie like he's Opie Taylor from Andy Griffith Show. I can never
Well,
remember.
it's either that or it's like Obby. I think they said Obby, but I do know Obi.
Obi, yeah.
I
I've
said
never heard
Obi
that
because
name.
I wanted to make an Anakin Skywalker joke. I'm like, Obi got burned this time. Whatever.
But basically, Obi, he finds his tape because one just like in Saw 1, everybody has a tape that they have to go through, and he's instructed that there are 2 vials of the cure for what's in their blood, one for him and one to give away.
Yep.
Well, he's basically saying, "Oh, I'm not going in there," and then Xavier's like, "Oh, you're going in there if I have to put you in there," and he gets into the crematory machine. He starts to take off the first vaccine. Boom, no problem. Everything's fine. Well, when he goes to pull the second one, that's when the door slams shut. And this scene right here, even if you don't want to watch the whole movie, there's a very comical moment that makes me laugh so hard. Once he pulls that chain, the door slams shut and the fire kicks on. And there's a valve to turn the machine off on the other side of where he is. And that little devil right there.
That shit
That
right
is
there.
just it's great. Like whoever was set designing came up with that was like, hey, I'm just gonna have some fun with this here.
Now I'm gonna doodle
Because
on this wall here. Give me a second. It's gonna be funny.
Oh yeah. You know that wasn't in the script that somebody on set thought that would be funny. But he has to crawl through the flames and stay there long enough to turn the gas off to turn off this oven. And while he's in there, of course, everybody else is surrounding him. Hand us the the vials, hand us the vials, or whatever. And so Obi, whatever.
Yeah.
He's basically burning to death. There's 2 vials in there that could be handed out. Unfortunately, he can't quite get them to him. And then as this scene comes to a close, you see him basically burst through the glass right there. And they're just hoping that he has the vials in his hand. But unfortunately, he did. So, there's that blood jigsaw I was talking about. But
yeah. that's something that's it's horrifying if someone sells the fact that like they're burning alive. That's like the high pitched scream that like he's trapped. See, we were talking about like medieval shit a second ago, like with an Iron Maiden. This is like that burning bull. That's that shit.
Yeah.
Or the bronze bull, whatever the hell. You put somebody in there, light a fire, and then they just burn to death. That shit is
funny
horrifying.
enough. In another Saw film, we're gonna get another.
I know. We're gonna get another one.
Bull type thing. Yeah, that's
that's more messed up though. She didn't deserve that shit. That's different.
That's it. That's one thing I have to give the creators of the Saw series for. Yes, they have some fanatical, made-up traps, but they went and dug back through history to find a lot of real stuff, and they recreated it modernly. So, they did a lot of work. But, there's basically the bad part of having such a big cast that they did is we don't get to see everybody's trap. That needle trap that we're going to talk about in a minute, that wasn't meant for who it was supposed to be for. Now, I think the most...
another trap that wasn't, yeah. We'll get to that one.
Another fan favorite trap, at least for me from the series, is when Allison, whatever, she's just walking by her room. There's a glass box hanging from the ceiling, and there's a green. This stuff looks like the Incredible Hulk's blood. Would you actually put that into your body?
If it gave me superpowers, I'd smash through that building. I don't know. Maybe.
But
at this point, I'll take the fucking chance. I don't know.
She walks into this room, and there's this glass box, like a plexiglass box, hanging from the ceiling. She reaches her arm up, and there's 3 razor blades that surround her wrist. And, of course, she starts pulling it. Oh, no, I'm bleeding now. So what does this genius do? She puts her other arm in the same kind of hole. And, this shot right here is just...
That is uncomfortable. I mean, again, I'm not showing it, but like what he just said, it's like you can go forward, but you're not pulling your arm back out. There's no doing that.
The only way out of that would have been to go to the arm that you already had in the existing hole, to use your hand to push those razor blades out of the way. But of course, this is a horror movie and we need dead people. So, we're going to sacrifice some guys. And,
I get she's delirious, but damn it, you could have been a little smart. None of that. She goes to grab the vial and just completely like dumps the whole thing all over that glass box. And I'm like, well, now you don't have it. And now you're trying to panic and get your other arm in there, and now you're stuck. Now you're going to die.
One of the things that we learned throughout this film is basically everybody has a number on the back of their neck. When you go back to the original room that these people were in, there's a big safe in the middle of the room. And the combination to that safe is over the rainbow. And it turns out everybody has a number written on the back of their neck, which I don't know how you just didn't see that when you're randomly talking to one another in the room. Like, oh, wow, it's 15 on the back of your neck. That's a weird tattoo to have. That's kind of odd, whatever. But so as Addison, whatever, is in this trap, you see our boy Frankie G walk up, and she's like, oh, help me. And he's got, if Negan's baseball bat is cool, I think Frankie G's bat is cooler. I think I would rather have his with the nails there. I got to be honest with you.
I mean, that's fair. I had that shot too. There was a shot of her with her arms up, and like Frankie G's like in the background, like looking at her, trying to get the number off her neck.
Oh yeah, no, dude, he's a menace in this movie.
Yeah, because he's kind of the one who powerhouses through it.
Basically, this movie, Frankie G, he goes from, he's obviously a bad guy when we meet him, but he goes really bad really quick, and he doesn't apologize for it. And he sacrifices Lyric Beat. I forget who he plays in this movie, but he's the black fella in this film. That he's obviously done time. He's a criminal, but he's kind of he seems like he's reformed, kind of a good-hearted guy. You know what I mean? He's, maybe living his life now trying to not be a criminal or whatever. Xavier Frankie G ends up bashing him in the head to get his number and everything else. When he's just trying to get everybody to work together. This whole time as they're going through the house, though, there's little fragments of a torn up picture that they pick up as they go. And this is why Amanda's here. Amanda's here, like I said, to gatekeep for Daniel, because he knows that there's something here he doesn't want the rest of the people to find out. And at this point is when Frankie G really goes into boss mode in this movie. He's basically hunting down everybody with his freaking nail-filled baseball bat. And just for, even if you don't do anything else, him alone is worth watching this movie for, because he's just so cool in this movie. It's just, he goes off. And
well, sometimes he goes off a little off the deep end. And you talked about a trap being meant for somebody else.
Oh, dude, let's get to it.
I was going to say, I don't know there's two real memorable parts of this movie, and we did mention the one, which was Addison getting her arm stuck in the razor blade plexiglass box. But there's something about the visual and the sound of this next one that will, it's one thing, but it will make you your skin will crawl. They come into a room and see a giant pit in the floor, and it's like finding a needle in a haystack is kind of the hint. It's not exactly a haystack. Maybe it's just a haystack full of needles. And Xavier gets the bright idea, hey, Amanda's a drug addict. How about we just yeet her ass into this pit full of dirty-ass needles and make her dig for it?
Dude, I still, even looking at that,
it makes you cringe.
I can hear Amanda swiping at those needles, at the casings of them, and I can hear it, like,
yeah,
in the most, like, if you haven't seen this scene, you need to go watch it, because basically those are actual needles. But what they did, they had that, like, when they initially had this hole in this floor, they did like a couple hundred, and it barely even covered the bottom of the hole. They had thousands of syringes that they had to physically go remove the needles from to put fake ones in. But what they screwed up on was there was like a handful of them that they didn't take out the real needles. So they had to go back in and redo the whole process. They had to check thousands of syringes twice for actual needles in the syringe. And basically, Xavier, he goes, well, Amanda, you're going in there. You're finding that, the syringe with the
there was a key in there too. Yeah, there was a key to a door that locked.
Yeah,
and they needed the key before a certain amount of time. So
they Xavier flings this bed over this hole, basically picks Amanda up and throws her in this hole, and oh my god, dude, it's just, dude, it's like I said,
it's a visual shot.
Even as jaded as I am about, I love blood, guts, and gore. That is a selling point for me. But when I watch that scene, I'm just like, oh god, I can feel every needle poke as she's doing her thing. And she finds it. She gets out of the hole, and as she gets out, she's laying there in the floor, and you just see Daniel start pulling the needles out of all over her body. There's just probably dozens of them, it looks like. And the behind the scenes on this, Shawnee Smith was a few months pregnant when she shot this, but she didn't tell him.
Yeah, nobody knew that shit.
Yeah. I mean, so
that kid's got a fun story.
This was 2005, so that's what, 18 years ago.
Yeah, you're getting
So whenever they do the 20-year reunion, I hope they get that kid to speak on the. Oh, I'm in that scene too. You just can't see.
I was in there.
But that scene, it's so. That is a movie moment, especially in the horror world, because you've got Amanda doing her thing. It's so gnarly. But as this is going on, Beverly Mitchell, she basically, the poison that's within her body overtakes her. She has a seizure and dies.
Yeah.
The prostitute, she's bleeding to death in the other room. Lyric Beat, he's dying, and he got bashed in the head by Xavier already. So basically, we're down to Xavier, Amanda, and Danny, and they're running through the house. They're trying to get away. They end up back into the safe room, and they're barricading it in. Well, it turns out if you move that safe, there's a trap door under that. And it leads to a very familiar place that we just saw in the previous movie. So, kind of, once again, we're adding to these layers. And they're trying to escape.
Some shitty place that looks like that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that bathroom is just like that. They had to recreate the bathroom to do the shot.
Yeah, I was like, didn't they have to redo it? Yeah.
Yeah. For Saw 2, they had to redo it, but in Saw 3, they used the bathroom that they used in Scary Movie 4 because it was a direct reproduction of it. But basically, you've got Amanda trying to protect Danny. Xavier, Frankie G is after both of them because he wants the numbers off of the back of their neck. Now, he doesn't have to kill them. He just wants to. And they know that if he gets a hold of them, they're going to die because he's still got the nail-filled baseball bat. And another moment from this movie, which I think was genius. Danny's like, well, how are you going to get your own number? And he has this screen. He has this ghost face looking buck knife in his hand. He reaches back behind his neck and he skins himself, cutting his own flesh from his body to get his number off. And that face that you're making right there is the face that everybody made of. Oh my God, I could do that. This is where
there was a shot of Amanda with like her shocked face where she's like, but I couldn't get that one. Yeah.
If I had to put a year on when did the torture porn era start, I'd say it was this moment in 2005 with this movie. Because obviously you had Eli Roth in the Hostel films, but I think in this movie right here, especially in that moment with Xavier cutting himself like that, that's when the torture porn really started. And basically they fool Xavier to think Danny's dead, and they take his butt out. You know what I mean? He gets beaten to death. You know what I mean? So I mean, they don't hold back in this movie. You know what I mean?
Also, when now that we're back in the OG bathroom, there are some people that are still left in that bathroom. There's a dingy little guy over in the corner by the tub, and then there's a poor little Zep face down.
Yeah.
And they're pretty decayed, so they've been there for a hot minute.
Well, see, that's the thing. The Saw timeline, it's set up in the first Saw film that the investigation of Dr. Gordon happens 5 months before the events of the movie happen. They don't really specify time from Saw 1 to Saw 2. Now, in real world time, they're obviously 12 months apart. So, I don't know what the rate of decay is in an underground basement. Probably not very good. But, I think it's fair to say, I don't know, 6 months to a year or something. I don't know what. It doesn't really matter what you want to throw on it. It's enough time that, like, Adam and Zep have decayed immensely. And as all of this is going on, the conversation with Detective Matthews and Jigsaw still happening. It's still going on. And the further it goes, the more mad Matthews is getting. And basically, Detective Allison, she can't hold him back anymore. She goes, well, if you really want to get through to him, you have to destroy his work. So here comes Hothead Cop coming in, just smashing and bashing like he's the Incredible Hulk or something. And it doesn't do anything. I mean, you're threatening a dead man. What are you going to do? Oh, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I'm not going to get to do all those plans. Go ahead, burn it all, tear it up, do whatever you need to do. And, you know, I can feel, because I'm a father, I have children. I can only imagine the rage and anger that I would be feeling if somebody was holding my child and I'm being told, well, just sit here and talk to me. You'll get your kid back. You know, it is what it is. And finally Detective Matthews just snaps. He goes, enough of this, I'm done. Grabs up Jigsaw and beats him like he's a redheaded stepchild. He just goes off on old boy. He drags Jigsaw out of the wheelchair. He's beating him. He wants to know where his son is. Because while all this has been going on, on the other side of this room, they're watching all of these games that we just described to you a few minutes ago. It's all happening at the same time. They don't know all of the details yet. They just know that Detective Matthew's son is in dire straits, and they have to find him now. And Matthew snaps, and finally Jigsaw says, game over, I'll take you to it. And guess what? They go to the house where it is, but here's where that, problem really starts to add up right here.
There's that music coming back in again.
Oh God, that Saw music is so, dude. I have had the Saw theme as a ringtone for many years. I absolutely adore that. But turns out Jigsaw took him to the right place. They just didn't take him to the right time. When they get to the house, it's boarded up, all the lights are off, and nobody's there. And it turns out this was,
The bodies are still there.
Bodies are there, but there's no soul in most of those bodies. And it turns out they finally figure out, oh crap, we've been played. This was a tape that was being looped through this place. That's why the signal picked up from here. But this happened some time ago, and we get back to that famous bathroom. With any Saw film, if they don't have that bathroom in it, by God, it's not a Saw movie. And we get back to that bathroom. Detective Matthews gets took down. He finds himself in the same shackles that Dr. Gordon and Adam were in just one film ago. But instead of Jigsaw standing up to say those famous words, we see that face of that pretty little Shawnee Smith saying, game over, slams the door. And we cut back to Jigsaw, bloodied in the van, smiling. We don't know if he's alive or if he's dead. We have no idea what's going on. And then the movie wraps, only to lead on to another one in the next year.
Yeah, we leave old Donnie Boy in the same position that Adam and Dr. Gordon were in. If I don't know if you mentioned it, but that was also the twist, is that you hear him pick up that tape, and instead of hearing Jigsaw, you hear Amanda's voice. That, as we said, she was a drug addict, and he was the cop that put her away. So this might be a little bit of a sore spot for her, and getting a little bit of revenge on the cop that put her away. Whether it was legitimate or not, he's a dirty cop. So
that's the thing is, I think, and obviously we know others in the police force are on Jigsaw's team, but we're not there yet, so I'm not going to mention it. But
right.
I think this is when Amanda, obviously she was being tested. She had been through the reverse bear trap. She's been through this now. I fully believe this was one of the games that she set up, because we see throughout the franchise that Jigsaw doesn't always set up all of the games. He lets the apprentices kind of learn and grow and do their own thing and whatever. I think this was all about her, and I think she put her own self. I think it may have been her idea, but John Kramer helped facilitate it. It's kind of the way it seems, especially when you get into flashbacks and stuff. And just the way that it's played off, we get the emergence. I don't know. I don't think you can call Amanda a scream queen, because normally they're the heroines of the film.
You're like a final girl or something like that. She's not exactly.
She's not a final girl either. Like I said, she's antagonist, we. I mean, we've seen horror or female horror antagonists from Carrie to What's Her Face in Misery. There's been some
Oh, Kathy
female
Bates.
villains. Yeah, Kathy Bates in Misery. Uh, but there's
Maybe The Descent. That's more of like those are just real people, but they're still.
yeah,
The one girl was kind of fucked up, but
but
yeah.
Obviously, Saw's not a slasher.
Orphan.
It's a Orphan. Yeah, Orphan. Oh, Orphan came out after this. I can't remember was that 2008 or
Like
9 or
I thought it
something?
might have been like I thought maybe 09 or 10 maybe. It wasn't too
Yeah,
long
it was
after.
around. It wasn't just a handful of years, but we don't get a lot of female horror
Oh.
antagonists. It was really cool to see what Shawnee Smith was able to do with this role, especially
Orphan
when we get to
was
Saw 3 here.
Orphan was 2009. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I knew it was right around the 2010 mark. It was right.
I was gonna say that was something that somebody was trying to do in college was like female not serial killers but slashers in movies. It's like you don't necessarily get a whole lot of those, so it was kind of an interesting
Right.
paper to write on. So
Well,
that was one of the ones we watched was Orphan, and like maybe The Descent, and no, that doesn't. Maybe like Devil's Rejects. You talk about like Baby, maybe her.
Baby Firefly, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Baby. I love I love the Firefly family.
Oh,
Like I've always in my head they're like cousins of the Hewitts or Sawyers somehow. They just fit so well with that clan. But it is. I mean, hell, they're both in Texas. They could. But I mean, what are your thoughts on this film? Like, where does it hold up for you? Kind of overall, what do you think?
I would say in terms of sometimes when you get a sequel, if it's one of those ones that can do as good, if not maybe a little better, because I mean, just on a grander scale, and I'm telling you, watching somebody cut his leg off is one thing, but I had to sit here and watch this bitch fall into a pit of needles, and I had to hear the glass, and I had to hear, oh boy. So it's something I don't know. Like I have tattoos, yeah, I get shots, vaccinations. It doesn't bother me. Needles don't bother me, but I mean, it's seeing that when something's unconventionally being used in a way unconventionally, it's not supposed to do shit like that. I think it was an Evil Dead, the remake or something like that. There was something going on with an eyeball or some shit, and I'm like, no, don't stick sharp shit into your eye. Don't do that.
Are you talking about in Evil Dead where the girl's cutting her face off?
No, I swear there was like a needle or a syringe or some shit going into somebody's eye. Maybe that's not that.
I don't know. I can't remember now.
It may be from The Ring, which also again a female antagonist. The whatever that cord that was coming out of her throat, it's like just stringy shit coming out of your body like that. No. Right. Actually, there's a Saw trap later where there's some string going down somebody's throat, and that will make you crawl too.
Oh, the fish hook trap! Oh my god, that one looks so bad. It's like I hope that's not a multi hook. That's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
So, what was your? I mean, besides the pit of needles, what was your favorite trap? Like, which ones really stood out for you?
I would default back to the razor blade box because I'm also like, you're so stupid, but I'm like, but that's kind of funny because that's what's gonna get you. It's kind of visceral, and again, it's like I know there was. Well, we're gonna get to Saw 3 here in a second, but there was something that I left out of Saw 3 that is a facet of Amanda's character. I'm not gonna say it out loud because I know it's a touchy subject for some people, but I'm like, this is also in the time I was in high school. I didn't personally do anything like this, but I know people who, I know people who did.
Self-harm.
Yeah, there's your trigger warning. There's self-harm. Yeah. It's another facet of Amanda's character. But I'm like, this is also like, oh, this is some real shit here. It's, haha, she got her wrist caught in a thing, but I'm like, yeah, but that's still, make you. Yeah,
Amanda. And I think that's why Amanda stands out so much is she goes from being a drug addict to a self harm person to being reformed to really not being reformed. We're we're living in jigsaw. I've always looked at the first, well, the second and the third Saw films as we're living, we're seeing it through Amanda's eyes. We really feel her, especially in three. Whenever
Say,
she's
you want to talk
going,
about three because she really goes off the rails now.
yeah. But as far as for me though, for two,
Yeah.
the needle pick goes without saying. But that crematorium furnace, that's gnarly. I mean, it's one thing to bleed to death, but eventually you're going to pass out from blood loss. You're just going to die.
You're gonna choke.
It's another thing to, right. I mean, eventually especially with the arms the way that they are, you're gonna bleed out pretty good. But to sit there and burn to death like that, I mean, I want to be cremated after I'm dead, but not while I'm alive. You know what I mean?
That's a people. Well, actually, that's a good segue because I've always been asked, like, would you rather freeze to death or would you rather burn to death? And I'm like, maybe freeze to death because then you're not gonna feel it. You'll go numb and you just kind of Jack Torrance. You just kind of whoop out of existence and you're gone. You know what I mean? Burning, I'm like, I feel like that's just like more, you suffer more because you feel every bit of that. Like you start getting to second degree burns, you get like nerve damage, it starts getting like charred skin and down to your bone and shit. Fuck that.
See, I've always heard if you're ever burned to inhale as much of the smoke as possible to burn your lungs and it makes you die quicker. That's what I've always
inhalation
heard.
will, yeah, that'll mess you up. So that's
like, I mean, I'm no scientist. I'm no burn victim expert. I don't, take it with a grain of salt. But I've always heard that's what. I've always heard that's what kills you the quickest when you're being burned is. I mean, your flesh and muscles can burn for a long time, but you burn those, those internal organs in there. You mess them innards up. That's when you're really screwed. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If I had to choose freezing or burning, I hate cold. It's why I live in Texas. I don't even like when it gets cold outside.
Yeah, I'll probably take here.
Burning.
It gets cold.
Yeah, no, I'm good. But I don't know, man. It's just this movie is different from Saw 1 in every way possible. Saw 1 was a mystery thriller with a surprise ending. Saw 2 is torture porn filled goodness and with a huge, huge cast. And kudos to them for changing up the mold. That was pretty brave. You know what
I mean? All right, well. There's only one thing left.
I guess we can go on to the crescendo of the John Kramer story. Saw 3.
What you got?
Number one, I love the posters for these first Saw movies. Just the body.
I found these. These are pretty damn cool. Yeah.
Did you ever have the DVD cases of these back in the day?
When we rented them, I think the 3. Let me go back and look. Yeah, I think these 3 that I have here were the ones that we had. Like this one, the one with the hand and the foot. It's pretty straightforward. We had that one from the video store. 2 definitely had the 2 fingers that were cut off.
Well,
I remember cool, 3 having the 3 teeth. Yeah.
What was cool about these old DVD cases? They weren't your plain black cases. They were clear cases, and they had like a sleeve over them.
Oh yeah,
it was like a clear plastic sleeve, and like you could see like the disc itself didn't say Saw or anything on it. It just had the image of either the 3 teeth or the 2 fingers or the 1 foot or whatever. It was the same artwork that's on these pictures, but the DVD boxes were so cool because that's when they really started to do like the collectible packaging on movies and stuff like that. and like you could get the unrated cut or the. At this point in DVD was when you could get like, do you want the widescreen or do you want the regular format? We
Oh
were
yeah.
still at that point,
Oh man, I
which
forgot about
was
that.
which was always frustrating if you bought the wrong one, then it didn't fill up your TV and it looked like crap.
You you have no idea how mad I am that I bought the Dark Knight trilogy and I bought them separately as they came out. Dark Knight obviously been my favorite, but it's full screen, and I'm like, I don't like that it's full screen. I really don't. It begins and
Yeah,
Dark Knight Rises are both widescreen, and I love it, but it frustrates me. I'm trying to keep it
yeah.
all the same.
It's so funny the way that I mean the kids nowadays. Oh well, is it in 4K? Like we had much bigger problems back then. You
I was
youngins
using
have
a
no idea.
pencil to rewind that fucker when it got messed up. Like, come on.
But yeah, we've got Saw 3.
Oh yeah.
This film,
Boom.
this film came out in October of 2006. Once again, our boy Darren Lynn Bousman is at the helm. We've got a $10 million budget, so they've upped it from 4 to 10. They put $6 more million in, and the result is $164 million made. So they're pulling in about another $20 million off of that $6 million investment, which seems very profitable. Um, this one we're kind of going back to more of a Saw 1 format of a smaller cast. We're going to feature on Jigsaw. We've got Amanda. Now we do have a couple newcomers here. You'll have to forgive me if I pronounce his name wrong, but Lynn, our doctor, is played by Behar Sumek, Soomekh. I don't know if that's Indian or what that is, but I'll probably
I think it's
misspell
Indian.
it. And her husband is played by Angus McFadden. His name is Jeff in this film, and Jeff
Name
is
Jeff.
hot.
Sorry.
I knew that was going to happen. I was waiting for it.
I'm gonna make fun of Jeff because Jeff infuriates the shit out of me. I'll get there.
Really? Okay. Well, yeah, we'll get there. No, it's like I said.
Let me rephrase. I understand where he's coming from, what his deal is, but I'm like, pick it up, dude. Move your feet. Come on, move. You're so damn slow.
Now, okay. I was going to say, is your problem with him how slow acting he is to do anything with these traps?
Yeah, because that was my initial.
He kind of monologues for 5 minutes and then he makes a moral decision to forgive every single time.
Then it's too late. I'm like, dude.
yeah. He's pretty useless as a hero in this film. But yeah, basically Saw 3. Oh wait, do you want to read the deal? Go ahead.
Oh, if you were done, I'll regale this off real quick.
Yeah, no. Go ahead and read the deal. I need to get a drink anyway. So go
ahead. Yeah, I need to get this annoying contact out of my eye. It's bugging the shit out of me. Maybe there's a key behind my eye. I don't know. Anyway, so
there will be blood.
Yeah, man, I hope not. I got work tomorrow. So we have Jeff, who is an anguished man who is grieving over his son, who was killed in a drunk driving accident, and he has become more obsessed with revenge against the drunk driver, the judge, and the only witness to the crime, who refused to testify. And in doing so, this is the rabbit hole that Jeff has fallen down. He has also become a pretty neglectful father to his own and only daughter. Lynn Denlin, who we just talked about, I'm not going to try and pronounce her name either, is a skilled surgeon that is cheating on her husband and suffering from depression. Both are abducted and brought into Jigsaw's warehouse, because of course they are. This is Saw we're talking about, where they must play two separate games. Jeff must choose whether to save or let the people that he holds responsible for the death of his son die, while Lynn, his wife, must keep Jigsaw alive until Jeff can complete his tests. Or otherwise, there might be more blood. Hey, good timing. I just got done.
I'll try to quit. Yeah, Saw 3 is... Saw 3 is an odd film. Obviously, they knew they were in a franchise at this point. Yeah. They had plans to go further, but Darren Lynn Bousman, I mean, he even takes credit as he was the only man to be able to be able to kill the main star of a film series in the middle of it. Because
spoiler,
this is
that's how this shit ends.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like I said, obviously, if you're watching this, I'm just going to assume full spoilers here, like we do on this channel. And if you haven't, that's on you.
It's a spoiler
Whatever.
show.
So it is what it is. I'm not going to hold anything back. This movie's freaking
Balls to the wall.
It's been out long enough. If you don't know it, you're not going to watch it. It is what it is. But the whole premise is basically we're playing a game of keep Jigsaw alive, and
because his cancer is, he's terminal, man. He's gonna die.
When you look at Saw 3, it's kind of a flip reverse of Saw 1. Because Saw 1, you had the possibly cheating doctor husband. Now we've got the for sure cheating wife that is estranged from the family, and dad is basically a drunken mess that points at himself in the mirror with a firearm in his hand and a bottle of whiskey. So I mean,
he's doing his best taxi driver impression. You talking to me?
He's a big Robert De Niro guy. Here's what he is.
I was gonna say, first of all, Saw does this thing very well. They do this later, and I think 4. Actually, I think the next one, where you see Dr. Lynn, or what's her name, Dr. Denlin, whatever. I'm gonna call her Dr. Lynn.
Yeah, I just call her Lynn.
Yeah, she's obviously cheating on somebody, and you assume, I mean, she's getting out of bed with this guy, and you're like, okay, is it this guy? Because she's like, what do you want from me? Yeah, she's like, what do you want? He's like, I want a divorce, and it's like, oh crap, well, and you feel tension already. They do the tension of, she's like, I got to go to the hospital, I got to go in early, and he's like, I thought you didn't have to. It's like, yeah, and I'm like, shit, there's stuff going on already. And then they don't tell you that, you see this guy, Jeff, you're like, who the hell's Jeff? What's this guy doing? That's actually, that is the husband. We saw who she was cheating on Jeff with. It's like, oh, damn it, shit.
Well,
yeah.
See, that's the thing with these Saw movies, though, is
they're good at that. They keep it in the wraps.
You got to, like I said, obviously now we have the gift of foresight. We can look back and we know the Saw twists and whatever. But in 2006, when this film came out, I was 18 when this movie came out. I remember going to the theater to see it. And
2006, I was what?
Let's see, Let's see. I had just turned 18.
I was like, what, 13 probably?
Yeah. But, it was, you're expecting a twist to come, but you don't know where it's going to come from. We've got Lynn over here, which I think I may feel the worst out of all the Saw victims. I think Lynn is the one I feel the worst about, because she's extramaritable, whatever, blah blah blah. We get it, but for her to have a shotgun collar, strapped to your body.
First of all, that was my favorite part of this movie. I don't know what it is about that shotgun collar. I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever fucking seen.
It looks so cool, dude. Does that not look amazing?
Well, I already skipped over like 2 things, but I'm going to show this picture. I mean, like, she, of course, we got Amanda. We got Amanda back in the saddle again, of course, in this 3rd movie.
Oh, and Amanda looking like a snack in this movie, by the way.
Hey, look, you want to make fun of me for the clothes I was wearing, and that right there is the damn style of the women. The straight hair, the side part. She had some Avril Lavigne shit going on. She had like the baggy cargo pants on. Amanda had it going on. All right.
Hey, she can pull that look off a lot better than you can, Hoss. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying I was trying to look like her. I could never. Here, you know what? Here, I just had a basic pic. This is like Amanda now. We saw her with the kind of short, punk rocky looking hair, and now she's got these, longer side part.
Yeah, they did her dirty in the Saw X trailer by giving her the choppy self hairdo. I wish they would have gave her the long hair back. I mean, obviously Shawnee Smith is older, but she looks so good with that long hair. But
she can work it.
But no, we've got Lynn. basically, the whole plot and point of this movie is obviously Jigsaw's finally about to die if something major's not done from the inoperable brain tumor. And he's having seizures. He's 1 foot on, 1 foot in the casket already. I love that shot right there. That shot's so powerful.
I'm glad you sent me that. I'm glad I found it again because that's a good one. Him eyeballing her.
Dude.
They're having a moment, Amanda and Lynn. It's like they're fighting. I think I had one somewhere where you can almost tell, like, John's even kind of eyeballing Amanda, like, dude, you need to fucking chill out a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. I wish they hadn't done what they did in this movie so early in the Saw series because I wanted more of Shawnee Smith and Tobin Bell together. They were so good in these movies. They're just magic. But obviously, like I said, the whole point is keep Jigsaw alive. Yep. And so basically, Amanda goes to the hospital, sneaks into the locker room, dressing room, whatever you want to call it. Does the whole pig mask gimmick that they do in these movies that looks so cool. Whoever decided, I don't know that, besides Motel Hell, I don't know anybody who's ever, well, actually, that's a lie. I can think of a few minor horror films that used a pig mask. But the way Saw uses a pig mask in this, like, even in what's so funny is, I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but like the pig mask that Amanda wears has like girl hair on the back of it.
It's got like long.
It's like, why is it? Yeah, it's like, why is that even there?
I'm gonna bring this back up, and they say people don't look like their pets. Come on.
No. They totally gave her pig mask the Shawnee Smith do in this movie, but we see Amanda basically kidnap Lynn. I love that shot, the shot that takes place right before that, where we see Lynn first rolled into the medical room.
I wish
Amanda's
I tried so hard to find
it. Dude, Amanda's so giddy. She's like riding the back of the wheelchair. Right. She's almost smiling.
God,
it's like
because
you're such a psychopath. You're enjoying every minute of that.
That's your mic drop. Like she doesn't really know. It's like at this point, I feel like some people know. Like you wake up in some fucking room, some dingy room you're not supposed to be in. You're like, oh damn it, I know exactly who. But when you said, she wheels her around and she sees him, and I wish I could have got the shot of like John's got the respirator over his mouth. He like kind of pulls it down a little bit and like looks at her. Fuck no, dude, that's fucked up. He's right in front of you.
She's like I said, it's so childlike, it's so innocent, but it's so evil at the same time. It's like, this is just perfect. And Amanda rolls Lynn in and basically says, "You're here to save John's life, and I've designed this shotgun collar that is connected to our other test subject. And every time he completes a trial, one of these rounds basically goes away. It gets turned off.
And the whole thing's tied to John's heartbeat, though. If John dies, boom, she's gone.
Yes. If he goes, she goes. And
no pressure.
There's kind of a double whammy here. So you've got to keep a dying man alive, and you better hope whoever that dude is on the other side is good at what he does.
But also the thing about this scene right here too is they're getting in each other's faces because also Lynn's kind of like, look, I don't even know what you have here. I don't even know if I could make this happen. This isn't possible. We're doing some it's basically like some mash meatball surgery, as they called it. You're talking about cutting into someone's brain to relieve the pressure that his brain's putting on his skull, or vice versa. I don't with what? I mean, she's like, look, I'm a great, surgeon. And well, yeah, I know I've got, let me show you exactly what she's got for this kind of crap.
She went to the hardware section at Home Depot and got some medical tools.
No, I didn't. Damn it. I
swear. Did you not get the power drill?
Unless it's at the bottom somewhere and I forgot to put it back up. She's got like a little Dremel wheel. Not little, but I mean,
Yeah.
and a power drill. Oh my god! You know what? If something else that made me cringe in this fucking movie, it's if people had that thing about being at the dentist, that real high pitched whirl of that fucking machine.
Oh, that wee. Yeah,
Yeah, that, and then you just
yeah.
I don't know. It's like I understand there's a disconnect of like I can watch these traps and be like, well, that's not that would happen to you, but I'm like, that's not real. This shit doesn't happen to people. This shit right here is a real thing. That's a real thing that you do to people, like with that. So when they go into detail showing that, I mean, I know we're gonna talk about 4. When they go into the autopsy and they're in there doing that autopsy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's like it's so well done that I'm like, God, it makes me uncomfortable. You cut his flesh away. You're at his bone now. You're cutting his skull open, pulling. Stop.
Well,
I'll take somebody running through barbed wire any day. Other than that, Jesus.
I don't know what this says about me, but the nastiest thing about this film to me is that part where Lynn is doing the surgery, and she's like bent over him doing the
That's
work,
what I mean.
right? And that one little piece of blood like smacked her in the face.
Nope.
I mean, pig guts report on people in this movie, and I'm laughing about it. But when one little drop of blood hits her face, I'm like, oh my god!
You talk about this poor bastard right here. I forgot the opening kill. This poor little shit right here who's got chains.
That is my favorite kill in this movie. That's a top at least 5 for me in the entire franchise, because it's one thing when you're watching these movies, you have to remember they play on a non-linear timeline, and sometimes the opening kill is a direct thing. Sometimes it doesn't matter whatsoever. It's just it's another one of Jigsaw's victims that they're showing you. Like in Saw 2, it was a key scene for Look Closer, Detective Matthews. This one, the significance of this one was to show that now that Amanda is running the show,
she's a dick. That's what it is.
She's not fair in her games. And this is the point of this film. This man, basically, what this man right here did was he couldn't stay out of jail. He couldn't stay out of prison. He'd get free and he'd keep coming back. He'd keep coming back. So he was being punished. What he had to do within 60 seconds was rip every one of those hooks out of his body and hook up all over.
Ouch.
And he does, I mean, from the Achilles tendon to the backs of the arms to all over his flesh. They're everywhere.
That's something else. The back of that tendon, the Achilles, I can't do that.
Yeah. So you must hate Hostel. You must not be able to watch that one scene in Hostel.
I was thinking, or a House of Wax. I think it was where they cut the back of his fucking heel. No.
Yeah.
Ow.
That was the remake of House of Wax with.
The remake. Sorry, not the original House of Wax. Yeah, the remake with.
I tell you what, I love that remake of House of Wax. Once again, I love the 2000s era for it. But Homeboy here, he's got.
Yeah. Go on.
Homeboy, he's got a hook through his mouth coming out his throat. Basically, it's through the jaw. How do you rip that out?
You don't, because your jawbone's not going to allow you to do that.
Right. Well, this is the thing. He has 60 seconds to rip all these hooks out of him. And if not, there's a nail bomb that is feet away from him. A door is going to slam shut, and it's going to go kablooey. He's going to die. And
nail bombs.
Oh, dude, they're used all in the franchise. They use them in Saw 5 as well, I believe it is. But no, he gets it, and once again, he died so we can learn how aggressive Amanda is. Amanda's not looking to be like John. John, in John's philosophy, he thinks he's fixing people. Amanda is taking John's work and using it to get revenge on people. So this is where, and this will come into play by the end of the movie. Huh?
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of who, we also lost somebody. We lost a good one.
Oh, I hated to see Allison go. Allison was.
We lost Agent Carrie.
Or Carrie, yeah, excuse me. I still had the other chick on the brain. The
Yes.
prostitute chick. She was hot.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she's
But
just
no, the way they catch her in this scene is really cool. She's sitting in her apartment. She's just doing detective work, doing her thing, doing the whatever, right? And just she's seeing herself on TV from the closet. Walks up to the closet. I mean, could you imagine that crap? I mean,
but that's the thing is she's badass. She pulled her gun out and she was like sweeping the room left and right, looking, opened that closet and was like, what the hell's in my house? Like,
not only did she clear the room, but she empties that freaking magazine into the closet before she opens it too. She's like, I'm gonna make sure you're dead. You ain't walking out of here, buddy. And she gets, she goes night night for her troubles. And they call this the angel wing trap, I believe is the name of this one.
Are those angel wings or I thought it was the butterfly or something because it's kind of like you're being filleted.
Is it butterfly or angel wing? I can't remember. It's one of the two.
Maybe it's angel
wing. Basically what it is she has these like, if you ever saw, she basically has Freddy Krueger's knife hands in both sides of her ribs. It's kind of I don't think we can show it because there's kind of nudity in its gore. I don't think we can show it.
I don't have the Gloria shot. This is the only other one I've got because that's the important. It's stuck on both sides of the rib cage. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. There's this metal contraption stuck in both sides of her rib cage, dug into her, and there's a key that's been dropped in that little vat of acid in front of her. She has to reach in there to grab the key to pull it out before it disintegrates. But the problem is, the key is already pretty destroyed. But how is taking that lock off going to get that thing out of your rib cage to get you down from that?
I think she almost got it, and it's like, now what? Yeah, you're still stuck.
Well, this is the thing.
She gets flayed like a fucking fish. Like,
when you first watch this movie, you don't pick up on the little things like this. But the repeat watches is when it really shows. It's like, oh, this isn't what Jigsaw does. Amanda's setting no-win situations because she wants to take, revenge on whoever she's dealing with. And the 60 seconds clicks away.
Yeah.
We see somebody walk up to her and I think this is why they call it the angel wing trap. Because she just reaches her hands out, grabbing the chains like, this is going to suck. And then just flop, rips her in half.
Yeah.
You see her lungs and rib cage, they're just like dangling. It's like you feel so bad about seeing her go. Because she was she wasn't like Detective Matthews. She wasn't a bad cop as far as we knew. She wasn't obsessed like Rig was in Saw 4. She seemed to be an overall healthy.
She didn't go down the dark path like Detective Tapp or,
Right. She was kind of the one good cop that we knew of that didn't really cross a line or whatever. But for her,
there was some other guy there for like 3 seconds in Detective Hoffman. I mean, he seems okay.
I don't know, this Hoffman guy, who knows? We'll see if he becomes anything. I mean, it's just, it's not like I've got 3 pages of just about him or anything, but it is what it is. So,
what's
you'll
coming
have to tune in next week. You'll have to tune in next week to see what impact Hoffman has on this franchise.
Oh my God.
But
Anyway, back to
same Saw time, same Saw channel. So,
back to the medical drama here. You got,
Carrie's gone. We get back and we see Jeff. And have you ever woken up in a wood crate? I never. I've slept in some weird places, but to wake up in a wooden crate would be
a wood crate on a forklift that's like up in the air. Like, no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I always wondered, like, even the first time I saw this movie, I'm like, whenever he falls off, because that forklift's a good 6-7 feet air. What if he was like impaled by one of those shards of wood?
The wood or the nails. I'm like, man, if he had hit the forks
Right.
on the way down or some shit, yeah.
Right, like what would happen if his head hit bare concrete? He just dies. Like your whole game is done.
Well, damn it.
Yeah. Like you have to really count on him to take it like a champ and like land on his back or something. But Jeff is basically kidnapped from his home. He's put in a wooden crate on a forklift. He falls out of it, goes back to sleep again, and then he wakes back up. And now our games begin with him. And he has some trials that he has to go through.
We're going to play the forgiving game. Yeah.
And he's very bad at the forgiving game. Like, I could understand, okay, like the first person you came in, let's see. The first person he comes into contact with is the woman, right?
Yes.
The freezing woman. I always forget the order that these happen.
I think I remember by proxy because I was like, wait, it was the woman, the judge, because you got the judge out and the judge was there for the rack, and then we're in the room. Yeah, so it was the woman first,
which oddly enough, I think the woman's punishment. I can't say it's the worst, but my God, I would have. Well, that would be hell.
Here's that question I posed: would you rather burn to death or would you rather freeze to death?
I think I'd rather burn.
I don't want to freeze like this. This is some bullshit. He walks in. Well, we can't show it because she was full on frontal nude, but
all the way
back nude.
She was all the way live.
Yeah, strung up in this big freezer, and she's got like garden hoses, like water hoses next to her, spraying her with water every so often. And
it was pretty much those. It always reminded me of those water sprayers that you see for the fresh fruit or whatever. It's kind of what it looked like, but for a person, basically. And she was the witness to his son being ran over, correct?
Right.
I can't remember who was.
She was the only one who saw it, but refused to testify and say anything about it, which could have put the guy away, but that didn't end up happening. Yeah. So that's his beef with this woman.
So basically, what's happening here? She's hung up by her wrist, completely naked in this freezing cold room. As you can see, she's blue for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
I mean she's not an avatar, and
neither is Jeff.
The only way to free her is for Jeff to go over and reach through these bars on the side of the road and grab a key that will undo her restraints and turn her loose. But Jeff spends. Actually, Jeremy, you know what? I'm going to let you rant on this because I know you're chomping at the bit, and I really want to hear it. So you go ahead.
Look, I know we also. I mean, a fun thing we've been doing after we watch every movie is we watch a fellow YouTuber by the name of Dead Meat.
Dead Meat.
We'll watch the kill count after every movie, and you know what? He's got such a problem with Jeff too, and I'm like, I'm glad someone else said it. His full title is Slow Ass Motherfucking Jeff. Like, dude, I don't know. Watching it again, I understand. Maybe again, and when I say 2007, I was kind of like, well, what's going on? I mean, I remember I watched these all boom, 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 right back to back. So it might have been overload. And I wasn't quite following.
You did it the best way possible. That's the best way to watch these movies.
Yeah, but I mean, like I watched them all right in a row, and I was kind of overloaded at this point, getting to 3 because it was all in like one night, and I was like, why is this dude just like taking his sweet fucking time to try and help this woman? I mean, like he had, if you ever seen A Christmas Story, I mean, basically you put warm object, metal, cold pole. I mean, it's gonna rip your half your face off. That's actually I think I skipped ahead a little bit with that picture, but that's why if anybody's wondering for continuity's sake, that's why Jeff's got a big scar across his or gash on his face now, is because that pole he had to push real far through the poles to grab the key, and his face was up against it, and he had to rip that back off. So that's what happened.
Well, that's the thing.
But I'm like, I get that he's stewing. He's mad. I get it. He's like, damn it, you could have said something and you didn't. My son's still dead. But you could have put the guy away. You could have said something, and that would have helped in the trial. I'm like, I get it. It's a dick. I mean, you'd kind of want somebody to suffer too. I don't know. 2007 me, 2023 me, I'm like, I didn't have kids. I still don't. I couldn't understand that. But to me, I'm like, dude, I don't know. There's something else going on here. It's kind of weird that you're in a trap, but you're not. You know what I mean? You're not the one hung up here. You're not in a vat full of pig guts. Like I can speak, I swear. Or you're not crucified into some big machine that's gonna twist you like a pretzel, basically. You know?
Oh my God,
we're gonna say the best one.
I can't wait. But
I don't know.
That's the whole thing. I mean,
I don't know.
What?
It's frustrating.
Obviously, Jeff takes forever to decide he wants to help this woman, and by the time he wants to go help this woman, the lock's already frozen open. She's froze solid. And what was so cool, some of the behind the scenes on this is they actually had like clear plastic, well, like a plexiglass kind of thing that they would put on her body to look like a sheet of ice.
I was wondering what that was. Yeah.
Okay. They had her full body, like.
You've had to full cast her body. Yeah.
Yeah. They fully casted her body, but she could only wear half of it at a time because otherwise she smothered to death. So they had to get creative with it. And obviously she's like, naked, so there's not so much you can do. But obviously he's too late to save her. So technically he's through one of the trials, so one of the rounds on Lynn's neck doesn't function anymore. So that's one.
I mean, I like how he's just kind of like, oh well, very sad. Next, moving on. I'm like, come on, man.
Well,
it's still messed up seeing somebody die, or even at. This is kind of that thing with Jigsaw again. I'm like, did he kill this woman, or it's kind of the Batman thing? He's like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I ain't gonna save you either. So
I don't have to save you.
You're kind of still dead.
We could do it. We could do a whole show just about Jigsaw. Like, do like the People versus Jigsaw or something. That would actually be a fun podcast.
People versus Jigsaw. On the trial.
But so we get to we might as well knock out all three of these.
Well, yeah, we're going right. I mean, trial number 2 is speaking on trial, it's the judge now. We're up to the judge now that passed. Not really passed a sentence. I think he passed something very light. It was kind of like a technicality or something.
He got like 6 months or something. Yeah, he got like 6 months on a technicality or some nonsense. It was a very light sentence because once again the woman refused to testify, and
the judge just didn't really sentence him to anything. So
basically, the judge is the judge is chained to the floor by his neck and his arms and stuff, and there's a gigantic vat that he's in. Then there's this gear system that's going around in the ceiling with dead pig carcasses in it. And there's, I call it a pig wood chipper is what I like to call this thing. It just disintegrates whatever you throw into it.
And then that happens. You're going for a swim.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. The longer.
Look, if I had to say it, I think this is probably the best one. I mean, like the least of the 3 that happened in this movie, because I'm like, that's disgusting, but I'm like, you just kind of have to keep your head above water, which he does. You can see there, you can see he keeps his nose and mouth up.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, he can only move up so much with that collar around his neck. You know what I'm saying? So
it's a slow.
You've only got so much.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, out of all of the.
Well, the last one's definitely the fucking worst.
out of all of these, I think this is probably the most stiff. Let's see, it was this one where he had to burn all of his son's items, correct?
He had been holding on to a lot of his son's possessions still, and that's what the tape told him, like, hey, it's in an incinerator, and if you really you want to let go, you have to put this in the past, and you have to let go of these things you're holding on to, because he put one of the keys, I think, to the guy's collar in like one of his son's teddy bears or something that he really, really liked. I mean, that just
kind of makes me hungry for lasagna.
It's funny. It's a little fucked up though. It's like, man, all the things that's in there, and now because you do see earlier he yelled at his own daughter to not go. He's like, "What I tell you, you don't go in his room." You know, he left everything in there the way it was. So he has to now just push his button. But even this is the thing is, these people have been pleading with this guy. Like, look, come on. Like, he's like, I'm a judge for Christ's sake. Like, he probably could. He's like, I can work something out.
I can reopen the case or something.
Yeah, like, I can get you a new trial. I can help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Judge Man was actually the first one to get out.
I couldn't imagine if one of my children were to pass and I had to deal with the situation. I'd rather go myself than deal with that. But I would like to think that if I were in that scenario, I wouldn't wait until the guy was almost dead before I acted. Once again,
yeah, like I said, he was sitting there, he was going for a snorkel in the cream of piggy soup there, and it's like, dude, get him out.
That's the thing is,
he does
Jeff,
get the judge out there.
Jeff preaches for 15 minutes until he gets his point across, and then he decides to act. He gets the judge out. He actually saves somebody for once. He left he left old girl there to turn into a popsicle.
Yeah.
And another trial is gone. Now, you have the picture of Lynn's collar, correct? Can you show that real quick?
Yeah. Are you about to say the same thing I am? Because I was going to say something about it that bugs me, and I hate that it bugs me.
Let's see. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 5, maybe even 6 rounds on that collar.
I would assume maybe 6, but like.
Well, if there's 3 on this side, there's probably 3 on the other side, is what I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe
so. Even at most, even if Jeff were to complete all these things, she still got 3 rounds pointing at her.
Well, to be fair, she still has to save John. So if that goes, you still want some shells to blow her head off. I mean, it's not going to just completely set her free if Jeff completes his whole ordeal. I mean, she still has to have something.
Because even if that were the case, though, you would think there would be 4 on there. But I don't know. Just to me, I mean, if you got one shot. If you get one, buckshot or bird shot, whatever that round happens to be pointed at you, you're done. You're not walking away from it. You're, whatever that round happened to be, it is what it is. But it always bothered me the number of traps to the number of games to the number of rounds on the collar. But it is what it is.
No, what I was gonna say was I understand it's probably a safety thing, but I'm like, you can kind of tell right there. If you know what you're looking for, I'm like, do you notice that every one of those primers is struck?
Yeah.
I was watching the movie. I'm like, every one of those shotgun shells has actually already been fired, but whatever. I'm not going to let that bug me. It's a minor thing, but that makes me giggle. I'm like, it's probably a safety thing for the actor, but like, those been fired. They probably just crimped it back over, but it's a
that's one piece of Saw possible memorabilia that I've never seen sold at a costume store. Would be that shotgun collar. I've seen the reverse bear trap. I've seen the pig mask. I've never seen that collar. That could be something that I'd buy one of those.
I've seen plenty of Billy masks.
I've seen Billy everywhere.
Yeah,
I've never seen that though. I don't know. It's kind of weird that they never made that, but yeah, no, they. Anyways, back to the point at hand. We get to our third and most painful victim. I guess
you save it for who's left. You got the witness who didn't want to speak, the judge who didn't want to give a good sentence, but you also now have the guy who in fact killed your son in the drunk driving accident.
Mm-hmm.
That's your biggest hurdle.
We have the man that ended your son's life in the machine that Jigsaw has him in. My God. This is like the worst chiropractor ever. I mean, he's basically in a crucifix position, but his legs are spread instead of together.
Yeah, it's spread a little bit.
And once this trap starts, it spins a complete 360 before it stops on the legs, the arms, and the head.
And your neck. You want to
You know,
cosplay as the Exorcist? That's what you're going to do.
oh,
Your head's going a
this
full
is
180.
this might be the most vicious of the saw traps. I mean, there's some stupid ones.
I've got hypermobility. I can move my arms around quite a bit, but holy God, dude.
Yeah, but you ain't doing no 360. You ain't Gumpy.
No.
You know what I mean? You ain't
I
SpongeBob.
Stretch Armstrong. I'm not doing that. No.
Yeah, you ain't no Stretch Armstrong.
No.
So basically, once this kicks off, it starts with his arms and his legs, and it goes to the head. And the only way to get him out of it is there's a shotgun. There's a double barrel shotgun over in the corner of the room in a plexiglass housing.
Yep.
That there's a string tied to it with the key that goes to the lock on this thing. Which I still wonder once again.
How
are you supposed to undo one little lock to get this man out of this?
I don't think.
Is it like? No, you don't. And that's the whole point of this movie is this is Amanda's story. Amanda is, as far as we know, the only accomplice, maybe somebody else down the line. And well, actually, there's a couple more.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get worse, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. No, there's plenty. But that's actually a conversation I'm looking forward to once we get to the end. Who's your favorite, followers? Right. But so Jeff walks over to the plexiglass housing where this shotgun is there. He's like reaching in and playing with it, whatever. And he sees that you can tell this gun's got a hair trigger. Like this thing has not been well taken care of. It is not in good shape. It is bad. And the judge is like, well, you have to help him. If you don't, let's see, what does it say? If you don't help him, you're an accomplice or something.
He's like, you're an accessory to murder now. I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, he didn't put him in that machine. You can't put him on that charge on him, you idiot. So
I don't even think that's involuntary manslaughter either. It's like he didn't do anything to this guy. No,
I wouldn't think so. But this judge, he may be the stupidest man of worst. Could you not stand anywhere else? Like,
I mean, you could have like ducked and pulled that string. Like,
just do something. But basically, Jeff once again, slow ass Jeff, whatever Deadmeat calls him, I can't remember.
Slow ass motherfucker.
He walks over there. He thinks he gets the key off, but boom! And Judge he's done. He's over there. He sleeps with the fishes now. Dude in the racks. He goes full on Linda Blair. He's seeing it over the back of his shoulder over there. The one thing that I wanted, and I know it's this probably would have pushed it to an NC-17 rating, but I wanted to see more blood coming from the neck whenever that head spun all the way around. That's one thing I did want to see because we didn't get much gore out of that. You know what I mean? It was more horror to the body instead of blood in and of itself. But that kill, though, man, that may be the most ferocious kill in the entire franchise. It is something else. If you haven't seen it, you got to go watch. You know what I mean?
And then it all comes to a head. Or a brain, rather.
Yeah, then, John's had his surgery. Yep. He's stabilized. But once again, this movie's not about John. This might be the end of his story, but this movie's not about John. Even going back to when we started with it's time to play. When you watch this movie, pay attention to every little detail. Who's talking to who, how they're talking to each other. So many intricate details. Because I'll be honest with you, the first time I saw this movie, they got me hook, line, and sinker. I can remember sitting there watching it going, holy crap, how did I not see this? But the whole point of this game was, can you keep somebody alive? And we think we're talking to men keeping Jigsaw alive. But what have we been talking about for these last two movies? How since Amanda has took over, her games are not fair, they're not winnable, and
Nope.
she's killing people. Even in this movie, the struggles. Lynn goes back and forth. At one point in this movie, Lynn is about to just lose her mind. And she walks out into the workshop area, and you see Amanda go out there, and Amanda just like, she just picks up an axe and she goes, you could take this axe and you could put it in the back of my head and just walk away. John's not going to stop you. But, I hope his heart doesn't go off. Just the psychological torture back and forth.
Mm.
This is an exploration into Amanda. Amanda's such a fascinating character that her mentality is so weak at times. She's almost like a child. Amanda has a very, I don't know. I don't know if you feel about it this way or not, but it's almost like Amanda is a child of Jigsaw, but at the same time, she's in love with Jigsaw. You kind of get that, or do you have a different impression?
She does seem like she's kind of pining for his approval. Like she wants to be, she wants to be told, "Hey, you're doing a great job," but it's like she doesn't know how to do that, or it's like it does seem a little weird. She does seem weirdly connected. Like I think like when she goes back in there and Lynn kind of pokes her head back in, like Amanda's like got her head resting like on Jigsaw's forehead, like like it's her own father like dying in a hospital. She's really distraught over this. I mean, because she might just feel kind of lost. She might feel like I don't know what the hell to do if I lose you. You're the only thing. She did get her purpose. She did get saved. When we see it later, when he's talking to his wife, and he's like, look, I actually helped her, and she's gotten better, in some way or another. But it's like now she doesn't really know what the hell she wants to do. But it's like she just can't quite get there.
Well, that's the thing is, it's like, and obviously when you go, like you just said, later on, you see more of how we got to where we are. But the scene where we see Jigsaw, he's dreaming about a woman that we don't know who she is yet.
Oh, this is talk. Yeah.
We see this gorgeous woman that like, we don't know who, we can assume, but we don't have any evidence yet. And as he's dreaming of her, he says, I love you. But it looks like Amanda sees that he's talking to Lynn instead of her. That's why I say it's almost like she's in love with him because she wants that affection. She wants to be the only person in Jigsaw's entire world. And, this whole movie has been about, can you keep somebody alive? It turns out she ain't too good at it because as Jeff has been going through all of these things, he finds a key or he finds this, he finds a bullet, he finds a magazine, and then he finds all of that goes to. And we've got to the end of the movie. Amanda goes to the desk to get a file. And we don't see what's in that file, but we see a very distraught Amanda.
Yeah, I didn't have it, but I mean, like she's about in this same position here. She's about to break down.
This was right before this scene right here, where she basically in this scene right here, she's basically saying, well, she doesn't deserve to live. She blah 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 blah.
She's threatening Lynn at this point. She's not happy about the fact that she's here.
Yeah,
but she's kind of your only hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The hell are you pointing a gun at her for? I mean, that was my other one where she goes from that to that real goddamn fast. Like,
God, she looks so hot with that pistol.
You're welcome. I found one of my favorite websites
Dude,
type it in there. It'll tell you every single gun in a movie. That was one of them. I was like, hey, thank you, Internet Firearms Database. I love you to death. Thank you for that picture.
I love how in these scenes right here, I love how she gestures with that pistol. Like she's very she obviously watched enough bad guys and like Die Hard and 80s action films to learn how to properly gesture with a pistol and make it look menacing, because she does it very well.
She almost could have said "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker" right there, and you could believe
Oh
it.
yeah,
She just pops her. Like,
yeah.
You know.
Even though I do have to criticize her, because when she does finally shoot that thing, she's playing by GTA rules and has it turned sideways.
Oh, no.
I do have to change
Yeah.
it in terms of that.
I mean, that's my next. That's literally my next picture, and I tagged it as Amanda No Scopes.
Yeah, like
She straight up 360 no scope somebody. I'm like, whatever. I can believe that you're no.
If you ever want to jam up a pistol like that, turn it sideways and shoot it. You're asking for trouble.
Don't give me that West Side shit. It's not gonna work.
You're gonna have to clear that.
What you're doing right here, that's proper. Just fucking that'll work.
Right. She might want to work on the wrist control a little bit better, but overall her form is fine.
Well, yeah, because they said she was like 90 pounds or some shit last time she was in prison, or they weighed her. I'm like, yeah, she's a small thing, so.
Yeah, no, I would think she's more of a 380 girl, not a 45 or 9 or a 40. But
yeah, I don't even know what the hell.
Either way,
it looks like
we've gotten to the end of the film. You know, the Saw music is playing, everything's going off. The whole thing is popped off here. And
well, not only that, Amanda, I mean, I'll show it. There's your no scope. Someone got popped.
Yeah, she gets Lynn right in the back, and she falls through. It's so cool. And there's a reason why Darren Lynn Bousman is one of my favorite horror directors. His crossover shots are so incredible, especially in 3 and 4. The way he transfers from one location to the next, like in this, you see, because where Lynn is standing, there's these plastic, and I'm sure anybody watching has seen that plastic curtain that you get like in the meat department at your local grocery store or whatever. That's kind of what they have here in this place. Lynn gets shot in the back. She falls through and into the arms of Jeff. Because their locations are congregating here. She falls into his arms. At this point, she's still alive. We don't know if she's paralyzed or if she just got hit in the shoulder blade. We don't know where exactly. But that's not the point. All Jeff knows is he has a gun, he has one bullet, and he just saw his wife get shot. So what do you think Jeff's going to do? If this whole game, or if this whole movie and this whole game was
this is your moment, dude.
And he doesn't turn his gun sideways. He has proper form and control, and he gets Amanda right in the neck. And you probably can't show. Oh, wait, you did show. Okay, yeah. Look at that. I mean, right there in the side of the throat, right there, and you just see, because this is right where Jigsaw gets his final game over out, and Amanda's shot, and she's looking at John like, "Oh my God, help me," whatever. And
I've got that. I've got a good shot for the end because Jeff also, once he does that, he fucks up even further. His wife is trying to tell him like, "No, stop, don't." This is the hey, can you forgive? Are you gonna let this guy go too?
Right.
John's like, you don't want to kill me.
Here's the thing, though. Even before you get to that, the disappointment in John's face when he's looking at Amanda.
Right.
He's a failed savior at this point. I mean, he spent an indeterminate number of years in vet, because as far as we know, she's the only disciple.
Yeah.
He thinks he has saved her, but in his final moments, he knows his ideology failed, his style of teaching failed, and his student failed. One thing that I found one thing that I almost wish was in the movie. I was watching an interview with Tobin Bell a number of years ago where he was talking about this movie, where they had talked about filming a scene where Jigsaw is laying in the hospital bed and he just breaks down into tears because basically he knows that he failed. But they didn't want to portray Jigsaw in
a weak,
sensitive, in a weak state, basically. But Tobin Bell had wanted to show the character in like a vulnerable place, like he knows. Well, I've basically wasted what little I had left in my life. So Amanda's laying there bleeding out. She's not quite dead yet. This is when you get the flashbacks of, oh, well, it's time to play a game. And he's looking at her, not at Lynn. And all of the flashbacks and all of the little clues that if you knew already, it would reveal. And then Amanda's dead. So we've got the woman who survived the reverse bear trap, who made it through Xavier and all of the shenanigans in Saw 2. I think it's fair to say Amanda caused her own demise.
So she flew too close to the sun and she kind of got burned.
Yeah. She played games that weren't done properly in John's eyes. And at the end of it, she let her own. I mean, she was still a cutter in this movie. We couldn't show you the picture, but there's a scene where she goes into her little corner bedroom thing with a curtain over in the front of it. She pulls her pants down, and you can see on her inner thighs. I mean, she's straight up taking a buck knife like you would skin a deer with and cutting herself. And she's got like 6 or 8 cut lines from her knee all the way to her crotch, basically. And she went from being a drug addict to being a cutter to hiding it from John. Once again, we still don't know what's in that envelope as of watching this movie. Very important going on into the future if you're watching this along with us, which I hope you do. Hopefully you watch Saw 4 through 6 before next Monday, because we're going to get real deep into the weeds, because it gets messy on those. Not just literally, but information wise. But Amanda's dead. Lynn's laying over there in the corner bleeding out, and basically John and Jeff are the only 2 left. And you can. He basically says, like you said a minute ago, you can forgive me, and I can have an ambulance here in 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, Jeff can't do it. He sees. Look at that saw. Dude. I want one of those freaking saws, man. That thing is, dude. Like obviously the ultimate saw in horror is Leatherface's chainsaw.
Yeah.
Whichever one may happen to be your favorite version, that's your favorite. But that saw is like a number 2 or 3 at least. You see, Jigsaw had swallowed a tape a few minutes before this. Mm-hmm. There's a candle over on his table. Little cassette tape we see him swallow that also comes into play later on. But once again, we hear those famous words, game over. And Jeff lines up, slices Jigsaw's throat. And we probably can't show you that picture either.
I've got one picture left, but it's a good one. It's not that, but yeah, he cuts his neck right open.
Yeah, no, the prosthetic. I really like the prosthetic that they used for John's neck on that. It looked like something. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of like the original Dawn of the Dead kind of Tom Savini appliance. Is what it kind of looked like. It looked really, really good. It didn't look that, or it looked very similar to the way Michael Myers' stepfather in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007. A very similar neck prosthetic that they used, which, these films came out a year apart, so that's probably why they're similar. But what Jeff doesn't realize is they had a daughter. It wasn't just the son that died. There's a daughter as well. John's the only one who knows where she is. And you find this out through a tape replay. But now all the doors locked. John's dead. Amanda's bleeding out on the floor. And what happens when John's heart stops? Lynn's over there trying to warn him. No, don't, please, don't, whatever, because she knows her butt's on the line too. And
this motherfucker's got that damn grin across his face.
This is why I love Jigsaw so much.
I titled that John Still Wins. I'm like, yeah, he still got you in the end.
Yeah.
Like
That's what I'm saying, dude.
He's about to die, and he's just like, do it, man, because you're still gonna fuck this up.
Well, it's not like he's going to get up off that table and go run a marathon or anything.
No.
He's got a quarter of his skull not attached anymore. You know, it is what it is. And, you know, Jeff thinks he gets his final revenge when in reality, as always, Jigsaw's if you ever think you're at 2 steps ahead of John, he's already passed you and lapped you 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Jeff's daughter is gone. His wife is dead. Son was already dead.
The shotgun collar went off. She's gone.
He's locked in the room now.
Yep.
The music is swirling. The music in Saw 3 is so like they really kind of keep the same songs, but the way it's kind of like how Halloween always had the same, you know, do 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 do, you know, but the way that they built it up and they played it and they beefed it up. The music in this one was really, really good. But yeah, I mean that's your movie, man. And it's the end of I mean, there's a reason why we call this, you know, the John Kramer trilogy, the Jigsaw trilogy. This is John in the rest of the movies, yes, but he's dead. You know, this is the only time, and I'm not counting Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees where they come back every movie. That's a different set of rules that they're playing with. This is the only time that they've ever killed off 2 of your main antagonists, and the only 2 that we've known in the middle of a franchise. We don't know what's going to happen going forward. We know another movie's going to come out, but this is just Saw 1 created a genre. Saw 3 redefined that genre by doing what they did with this movie. And I don't know where it ranks on my overall 1 through 9. We'll do that later. Maybe in a couple weeks or something. I don't know. But Saw 3 has to be up there for me. What about you? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, again, you have someone as unique as John Kramer, who's, again, an elderly man with like terminal stage 4 cancer, who, you know, I mean, again, another slight trigger warning here, but he tried to take his own life and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, this dude just is at the end of his absolute rope. So it's like, you know, then he starts seeing other people not appreciating life, you know, that he was denied, basically. Like, and we'll get into another reason as to why. I mean, the more this goes on, I think 4 gives a lot more exposition and backstory. John's kind of had a fucking shitty go of it even before he had his cancer diagnosis. Like, you kind of feel bad for the guy a little bit. Like, man, he went through some pretty shitty stuff all right in a row. So seeing it all happen, I don't know. Again, first one, amazing. Even if that had been where you stopped, I mean, holy shit. The mark you left on horror was pretty damn big. And why wouldn't you keep going? 2 got bigger, and you know what? They kind of kept that train rolling. Like, I think as Dead Meat described it, every time we keep flashing back, it's like it's the lens on a camera, and we keep zooming out a little further and further. Like, oh wait, this person was actually there. We saw this scene happen, but wait, there was more to it. You know, it starts to develop this whole world. Now, to me, it's like, did this all happen in the span of like maybe a week? Good God, because this all happened like one after, and that's where it started to get me.
It's kind of like watching the season of The Walking Dead. Like, this is supposed to happen in a week, and you're stretching it out to like whatever. You know.
Yeah, I think I saw that someone divvied out how long it actually was, and I'm like, that was only like a week? What? That was a day? Jesus.
Like,
you know.
The actual timeline of Walking Dead is like a couple years, but somehow AMC has stretched it out to the point where Carl is a grown man now. You know, it's like
I think it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be where it's at now, where it was supposed to be like 10 plus years later, but
yeah,
they skipped it. Well, to be fair, the comic did end with him being a full, like, you know, fully grown man with his daughter of his own. But you know,
yeah, we're telling the story. Yeah.
That's starting to get into Last of Us territory. Where you're like 20 years into the apocalypse now. You know what I mean? So
right.
But no, as a whole, even just these three, I was like, holy shit, way to set this guy up, send him on this path, and you're kind of like, yeah, you know, he's got limited time. You see him go out, but like I said, that let me go find that again right there. That's the thing. You killed this dude, you just split his neck open, but he just smiles at you like that.
Yeah.
You should be a little more concerned. Like, oh damn it, you not Ron,
John
Jeff Dunham.
John has never. He's never not prepared for any and all circumstances. He is. If Batman was ever a serial killer for prep time, he'd be Jigsaw. He's got it all figured out. Seriously, like you can't. There's nothing that she can think of that he hasn't planned for. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to know too. I mean, I'm going to spoil something a little later. As I'm like, what did this guy do? I mean, was he an engineer or some shit? I'm like, he had like all these buildings that he just had like property in. I was like, yeah, how did he do this? What the hell? So he's got money, I guess. You know,
he was a civil engineer, and he had a lot of properties. The way I've heard it, basically he was a real estate mogul that was an engineer. Basically, that's the short.
Yeah, that's.
But the one thing that's believable. The one thing that I don't find believable is Amanda. She designs the shotgun collar. She's a crackhead who's a cutter. She's not designing anything. You know, it just she designed the rack. It's just there's obviously there's a certain level of disbelief you have to put on with certain things, but you know it is what it is. But I don't know what was your favorite trap for this film? Like, or what moment was it that really was your go-to for this one?
I guess in terms of over the top and just kind of gore, it's unfortunately I just have to straight up go with the rack because I mean you're talking about cracking bones and like shit sticking out of his arm, you know what I mean? Shit flying everywhere. Pig guts is one thing, and I mean again it would suck to be frozen like that, but you just let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I got to go with Amanda getting shot in the neck. It's not as overstated as the traps in this movie, any of them, whether it's freezing, pig guts, or the rack, but the significance of it and how the acting that Shawnee Smith does it. I mean, she's holding her neck, she's reaching out for John. She's reaching out for her savior, and there's literally nothing that he can do to help her.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if she had just followed the rules,
that's what he tells you from the beginning.
It wouldn't have happened. But like I said, there's something in that letter that made her absolutely hysterical that I'm not going to say right now. I'm going to make you people go watch the other movies. You'll find out in the next couple. I'm not even going to say which one it's in, so you have to watch all of our reviews. So there will be blood. But no,
it's all convoluted enough as it is. Trust me, it'll be in there somewhere.
Right. Now, one warning going further past this. Up till 1 through 3, we're on a straight line timeline. We can start here and we're going to end here. Going forward, we're going to go from here. We're going to go back here, a little bit in the future, a little bit in the past. It's going to get a lot harder to explain a lot of this stuff. So I can't recommend that you go watch these any more than I already have if you want to keep up with us. Or if you've, seen them before in the past, you already know. But, I think this 1 through 3 show, if they had never made another Saw movie after Saw 3, I could have been happy. I mean, obviously I'm happy that they made more, but they told a complete story here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, like I said, if this was just, this is your main killer, this is your dude, and now he's dead. So it's like, yeah, we can end on that note. And I mean, I hate to say, like, yeah, if it kept people's interest, why not keep going? I don't know. I could have been fine with just a trilogy.
What did I say? $164 million on a $10 million budget. That's why they made another one. You know what I mean? And
very successful, yeah.
Going forward for the next, I mean, I won't give any other details besides budget, but for Saw 4, 5, and 6, they spent $10 million, $10 million, and $11 million. And the amounts made were Saw 4 made $139 million. Saw 5 is where we see a decrease with 113, and Saw 6 only made $68 million. So we're still at the high points of. I mean, they literally just made the most money that they've ever made from the franchise. So, that's obviously why it continues. And there is a ton of unanswered questions of what happens to Jeff. What was in that note that Amanda read? Will the little girl ever be back? Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that is left unanswered. That's why they made another one, even though Jigsaw and Amanda are both gone. But, Jigsaw may be gone, but Tobin Bell will still be here for future sequels. So that's all we can ask for.
And that's what we're going to keep doing. We're going to do that next week. We're going to do 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, Saw 4, 5, and 6 next Monday.
It's lovingly called the Hoffman trilogy. Exactly.
The Hoffman trilogy. Hoffman, he's been a minor character so far, but
hold on to your balls because he's about to turn into Michael Myers real quick.
We're about to get one of my favorite characters in all of horror media is in these movies. I'll say this: as much as I love 1 through 3, I love 4 through 6 even that much more. They may be my favorite Saw movies, and I will tell you why next week when you tune in to watch. So subscribe to us.
I was gonna say
I did have
what?
No, I was just gonna say a quick plug for our subscriber count. I did happen to look today. We're at 488. We are 12 away from 500. We're going to do an animal stream at 500. You don't know 12 people that you can send us to? You know what I mean? 12
What's wrong with you?
That's all we need. I mean, 12 people. I bet you have more than 12 people on your TikToks, Instagrams, and Twitter accounts or X accounts, whatever. Share our stuff out. We tweet the links out every week. I did one just there today. All of the proper people were tagged. Get us to 500. We want to help these animal shelters out, and we would love to get there. I don't know what the stream will be, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So please, please, please subscribe to us so we can help the Abandoned Pet Project.
Yep, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get to 500, and we'll, like I said, we've been pushing it out there, and we'll do a charity stream at 500. Like I said, we're 12 away. That's easily doable. Also, we can't let Casey be beating us here in subs. Like, come on, what are you guys doing? I don't want to have to admit to him. I can beat his ass in Fortnite, but I can't on YouTube.
We're giving you content from Monday till Thursday. On Mondays for the month of Saw, we're doing Monday Night Saw. The regular Tuesday night show. Frank and I are doing the fantasy football shows on Wednesdays for the rest of the football season, and our regular Thursday show with the whole crew. We're putting in the work here. We're giving you the entertainment. All we're asking for is just like our stuff, share it, help us get to 500. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for a lot. So we would appreciate it. So
that's
all good.
I mean, he said it pretty much right. That's unless there's someplace else on the internet that you are. I mean, you'll be here, I think, for every single day. I just won't be here for the sports stuff because, as you can tell, I obviously play sports.
Unless I'll be here forever Monday because this is a Saw project we do.
Oh yeah, I'll be here.
And unless a work, I have to work late or something on a Tuesday or a Thursday, I'll be there for all of it. I may not have much of a voice by Thursday, but we'll see how that goes. But
I mean, I'm doing haunt stuff, so hopefully I keep my voice. That's all I'm doing is spooky stuff, and I'm starting to do some cosplay stuff. So maybe I'll start posting that somewhere.
We've got. Obviously this is Frank's channel. I want to thank him for allowing us to do this on his platform. I mean, he was in the comment section.
He let me put my hands on the wheel and drive.
Right. He let the inmates run the asylum, so kudos to him for that. All of the
Actually,
comments in the chat. I mean,
shit. I was going to say real quick, the poll, all of a sudden, we jumped up from 9 votes to 12. I appreciate you all voting.
ooh,
I don't know who let Casey run the damn votes, though. He has 12 people he should give to us then, because apparently I Like Pie is the real killer at 42%.
well,
The trap people at
Casey
33,
only voted that.
and Jigsaw's at 25.
Casey only voted that because he knows pie is what eventually is going to kill him because he sits there and eats it all the time, stuck to his couch. But it is
fall
what
season, man. I don't know.
But I mean, shout out to the people who watched. I mean, obviously Frank was here.
Frank was here. My mom's
Jeremy
here,
and myself. We had
Rachel's here.
Mrs. Jamie's mom over there, Rachel.
Ghost Host.
The other woman is yeah, Cora. Oh, Cora showed up. I didn't even realize Cora was here.
I didn't. Garbage Man.
Yeah.
Okay, Kratos was here for a second. Hell yeah.
We had Alex and Dr. Nick. Yeah, they were actually live. Well, they may be live right now. They go live on Mondays. I normally watch them over there. Kratos was here. What's up, dude? Let's see. Anybody else?
That's about it.
Yeah. Well, we got to see.
Hey, we killed it. Just like Jigsaw definitely didn't. It was the pie.
We killed it. We killed it just like Jeff did, slicing an old man's throat with a power blade. But hey, it's all good. But yeah, hopefully, like I said, hit the like button, subscribe to us if you're not. Tell your friends about us. Like I said, we're putting in the work here. We do this. It's a labor of love. Obviously the Saw thing was more of a push from me, but I do want to thank Jeremy for jumping on board and making this a team effort thing here.
Well, me making a dumb pun about a wrestling joke, and I was like, "Oh, damn it, we're gonna do this, aren't we?" That's fine.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
It's like I said, it's spooky season. There's a Saw movie coming out.
Yeah.
What better way? Even if you don't want to watch all 9 movies like we're doing, you can just watch us, and we'll tell you what you need to know to get you ready for Saw X. So take the easy route. Please be lazy and just watch us. Don't watch the movies. That might be better, actually. But
All right. Well,
either way, it is what it is. But I think it's about time to get out of here. We're at 3 hours, don't you know?
Yeah. Well, as I said, this is our first time driving the car. I mean, hopefully Dad will let us drive next week. We'll actually hit the speed limit at that time and maybe actually drive within the lines this time, maybe. So
we may have hopped a few curbs and missed a few shifts and burnt that clutch a little bit, but we'll figure it out.
Anyway, we'll see you guys all next week for the Hoffman trilogy and the next Monday Night Saw.
We'll see y'all later. If I were a Jigsaw, I don't know who I'd go after. I do have a list, though. Do you have a list of enemies you would punish?
So you got like a purge list? Like, is that what this is?
Oh, dude, I've had a purge list for a long time. Even before the purge was a thing. I'm like, I'm eventually going to get revenge on these people one way or another. It's going to happen.
We'll multitask.